Kyle, Graham, are you ready for some roleplay?
Nah, but I'm ready for some gloating.
Oh, hell yeah.
Welcome to the Hidden Roleplay Podcast, where we discuss deception and hidden role games. I'm your host, Kyle. Behind the scenes is Alex. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, Graham.
Hi.
And tonight, we are joined by Absoltrainer. What's up, Jeff?
Oh boy, here we go again.
Indeed. Let's talk about HeyTrainer Mafia 30 crossover. So, to start, Jeff, I thought it would be interesting to get into your mind for a little bit, but not too deep, because that seems like a dangerous place.
It is.
So I would say it must be a tall task to try to combine and balance so many games. How did you decide what you wanted to keep in the game and what was worthy of being left out?
So originally my game was actually going to be just a copy of the other Among Us games. Just simple, easy. And after Superstar finished up his Sticky Situation game, by the way, when pod. After that game finished up, I decided I wanted something big for HeyTrainer 30. HeyTrainer Mafia 30. I wanted something big and grandiose. And that's when I started making that whole trailer thing. And then as the trailer started getting made, I started thinking, I want a big game to go with this trailer. And I started thinking, what has been... The Among Us games, of course, borrowed extremely heavily from your Karma game with the role passing thing. And I refined it and retooled it to fit my needs. And I thought, okay, what other concepts have I really liked and want to see used again? And that brought up Poteet's conflict resolution resources, which I thought was absolutely fantastic, and I really wanted to see it used again. And I liked the War and Peace, where you had different modes. And then I really enjoyed the Savior Orb concept from the Pika Bros game, which kind of worked as a sort of, a one-time power-up. So, and where this all stemmed from was, and obviously Superstar's game, Sticky Situation, was not talked about on the pod because there was no pod. Still salty, still want it. But there was a ton for the players to do. There was always something for them to do. There was always something for them to talk about. There was always something for them to discuss. I wanted to capture that, but I wanted to have everything laid out in the rules like the previous game. So tons of stuff to do, but without all the chaos of Superstar's Item Madness game. And that kind of what led to this.
I see. Well, Graham, that leads me to a question, one that you and I, we had a sort of debate, while the game was about to end, unrelated to the proceedings of the game. And we had a disagreement, so I thought maybe we could have that conversation here on the podcast right now.
Okay.
You thought that the game was unbalanced in favor of the town, at least at the time.
Initially, yes.
And I thought the game was unbalanced for the Mafia from the beginning of the game, at least at the time. So why don't you start? Give me your opening statement. Why was the town too powerful in this game?
I don't know at the end of it if I stood by that, but
Pretend.
let's see. There was a bouncing priest role. There was an actual priest role. There was a bouncing seer. There was a bouncing detective. There was a Vig in Chaos and Calm. They just had tools on every avenue possible.
But all of those were available in the
two
Ace
priests,
Attorney
Kyle.
game,
Two
right?
priests. See this? This is two fingers.
Second priest. What else? What else though?
Let's see. It's via the bouncing of the bounce mechanics.
Huge.
Yes, pretty big, which the town never followed, which is fantastic. The captain's hat was pretty good. The rogue's tool was pretty good.
Yeah, just getting around, oh, it's the wrong weather is the way I thought of it, calm or chaos. Well, we can get around that. We've got this. And I feel like, in the my very brief understanding, not being on either of the councils, even though we had Mafia on those councils by the end, it felt like they just kind of had to go along with what the town wanted to do, even if it was, at times ill-advised. They couldn't just like, oh, I'm just going to disrupt. The only person who actually was able to be disruptive was the bomber, who like had no accountability anyway, right?
Mm-hmm. Koopa started on the tribunal.
Yeah. But he was, playing to play town. He wasn't really playing to
right. You can't
forward
play,
anything.
Can't be face up in the tribunal on day one.
True. Okay. So hearing all of those points, I thought that the Mafia was favored in this game. And the fact that you and I were on the Mafia, and I learned that night one, obviously, host of this podcast, put some added pressure because, we had gotten totally destroyed in this game. I'd been like, why are we qualified to talk about this?
Fair.
But I thought we were heavily favored, not because we were on Mafia together or because our team was strong, although I think it was.
It was strong.
I think we were favored because of basically everything that you've outlined and that Jeff has just outlined. There was no way that the HeyTrainer populace was going to keep track of all this. There was no way that they were going to organize all of this on their own without a player like, well, frankly, myself and Jeff have been the ones who do a lot of the organizing when we play town, and we weren't playing for town. So I was like, they're not going to track any of this shit. This is all too much for them to like process, and it's going to be like, I need to reread the game. I need to go back and look for this, but stuff like that not getting followed up. People aren't going to have notes to rely on. They're not going to have spreadsheets of that nature, which brings up a different point. Should you have to make a spreadsheet to play Mafia? Maybe that is asking too much. So, yeah, I thought, and this was a concern that was expressed in the dead chat, I thought from the get-go we were going to have an advantage of information because while they had access to all these tools, Jeff, and you expressed frustration in saying, like, I give you all these tools and you have all these things you can talk about day one, day two that aren't related to like just conjecture. They're pretty concrete information. What was passed where? We can openly share that information. If you don't do it, then it's actually working against you because the Mafia is certainly tracking this information and knowing how they can spin it to their advantage, what information to bring to light that people may not know, like what is a favorable pattern and what not to share, like that would incriminate them. So how did your mind change then, Graham, before we gotta get back to AT?
I mean, just in terms of honestly, a lot of what you just said. In order for there to be a second seer, there was other things too,
like what we had access to, right?
Yeah. Well, sorry, not second seer. The second, like priest. Just the fact that they needed to request resources apparently was enough of a handicap that maybe they weren't going to use their ability. Requiring to ally, and once we knew their role, and with the fact that full reveal is the hot shit right now. Once we knew,
because there's certainly a lot who didn't want to.
It's still pretty prevalent.
Yeah.
We knew kind of how to play around it, and yeah, I don't know the Vidrol in my head, because like it was pretty much the George Washington type of role from the conflict resolution. You bring two or bring three. If two are good, it goes through.
2 Vidrols, right? Town had 2 Vidrols.
Yes, there was, but they were different. So one required, one was in Calm and required the detective core ability. The other was in Chaos and required you to bring people to sacrifice your life on it. And
I don't think we've had 2 since my Alola game, but yeah, very strong town presence there.
And I'll wait till he finishes because I have thoughts.
No, go ahead.
So this game was very specifically balanced. And first off, I want to give a shout out to Cam, because Cam was kind of my backboard for ideas. I actually built this entire game in just about 2 weeks. That's it. I was up all night pulling all-nighters, kind of bouncing ideas off him. So one thing, and I'm not sure if either of you noticed this, every single town role required teamwork. you either required an ally, it required you to be trusted to be given a core ability, or it required interaction with other players. Maybe it required feedback from other players. It required other players to contribute. All the Mafia roles just required you to do what you wanted, make a choice, and get results.
I thought that was a little cheeky, especially the ones where it was like, if you have the detective, you can do an extra thing. I was like, that's a pattern that could honestly be really broken if someone noticed it.
And 100%. But I acknowledge that. But at most, that would only clear 5 players total, and it would. I knew people would inevitably think one of these has to be
right.
Mafia. And then the other thing is that as far as the bouncing core abilities, obviously Mafia had a lot of defenses. You had an immune to Seer, you had an immune to Detective. One of the Mafia actually had a priest role that they could use to fake being the priest. And
that was what I was getting at, Graham, with like more reasons we are actually like it might have been like almost even if it was just like the disinformation thing that I was talking about with like town's not going to play the game optimally. That's what we had in our favor, but we also had like a couple of really strong abilities in that priest role and that soft seer role.
And because it required resources, that kind of balanced it out. It wasn't an everyday thing. Yeah. I balanced every single ability here on the logic that not a single ability would go off more than twice unless the town specifically dedicated resources to making that happen. And that's exactly how it played out. Most abilities went off once or not at all, but that's another discussion. As far as there being too much, and you say the town wouldn't track it all, that was also partially deliberate. Town should be a team game. I didn't expect a single player to track everything. I expected one player to track a little of something, another player to track a little bit of something. And the issue being is that no one even brought these up. No one even brought up, hey, where are the core abilities? Because, and we'll get to this, Mafia held the core abilities almost 75% of the game. You guys held all the core abilities. You guys kept having the hat. You guys kept getting the tools. You guys had the investigator went to the Mafia twice, and no one ever asked who had investigator and what did you see. The protector went to the Mafia twice, and no one ever asked who did you protect and why. Actually, it did come up. Bussy, JD Koopa, was asked, why did you self-protect when everyone kind of agreed that there was some players that needed to be protected? And then he just like, oh, I didn't know what to choose. And everyone went, yeah, that makes sense to me. Then, of course, there was the fact, well, yeah, so that was a big thing. Generally, I wanted these town roles to be built on teamwork. That's what I was really hoping. And I also, as you noticed, as far as for balancing purposes, you guys probably noticed flavor was extremely vague. There, in fact, what I did is for every character, I would actually take the flavor that the original host wrote for that character, then use that, add a little bit so that each character had a different style of flavor. That's why George Washington and Winston Churchill sound like Poteet wrote them. Phoenix, I didn't really get Phoenix Wright didn't really have because he was Mafia, so that one didn't work. But like a lot of the Pika Bros ones had a lot of puns in them. Mine had dramatic story moments in them, etc., etc. And I wanted flavor to be very loose and vague, and that was echoed with you guys as well, where I was just like, look, here's the basics, come up with something. I personally felt this is one of the most balanced games I've run personally. I felt really good about the balance in this game. I would run this again. There's definitely tweaks I would make. And I think the fact that you both came to different conclusions about who it was more balanced to is indicative of that.
Well, I want to move on to some other topics, but before I do, I think to try to tie this off, one of the things that I felt about the balance of the game, I'm starting to lose my train of thought. I'm trying to retain it.
Get it back. Get it back.
I had
chugga,
something
chugga. Balance of the game.
Alex,
you can do
might
it.
have to have a cut here because
No, this isn't cut. They need to know the thought process of you.
I don't cut. You figure this out.
You're on your own, big boy.
Rip me.
You don't have the third gym badge to use cut.
Remind me what you were saying.
All right, so I was talking about balance. I was talking about how the town was not. I wasn't expecting one single player to track everything. The town had teamwork based abilities. The Mafia had selfish based abilities. Flavor was very vague, so that you couldn't flavor hunt. A lot of the town sounded really suspect. I wanted everyone to have something to do at all times, which is why there's so many mechanics.
Come on, Kyle.
Right, okay. I'm losing it again.
How do you get it back and lose it that quickly?
That's how my mind works.
For the people that can't see, he's trying to perform like telepathy right now. Let's get his hand.
I took a bunch of abilities from older games that didn't get used and retooled them so that they could get a chance to shine.
This might help. Let's be honest. You were probably gonna disagree with Jeff about something. I feel like that's what usually happens.
Yeah, I think so.
He left.
What was it about? Okay, we'll just go to something else. We've spent enough time on this. All right, well, going off of that, let's transition from trying to talk about how the game was balanced, how town should have navigated the roles. We could go on and on about that all day and whether or not it was balanced or not. Here's what I wanted to say. Hopefully I can retain it. I personally, it wasn't a disagreement. I would vote not to play this rule set again. I think it was a little much. And I think one of the things that I took away from the game, having a observer role for most of it, was that town really doesn't, or at least right now, maybe in a year, they'll want to play a game more like this that has so much structure to it. It seems like they want to play a game that they can ad-lib. It seems like they want to play a game that they can improvise, and maybe that is why Superstar's game was so critically acclaimed, is because it allowed for so much improvisation, and there didn't seem to be, no one seemed to know the right way to play the game while it was going on. If that's what people want, then I think that's the direction we kind of have to go, as long as that's what they're demanding.
There's a good point on that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was going to say, I actually had this conversation with a couple of players who were dead. And I want to caveat, if I ran this again, I would simplify it a great deal. I would combine a lot of mechanics, take a bit out, kind of maybe add a little more. I thought having your people's kind of secret abilities and mechanics would give that kind of air of like, you don't know everything I can do.
Mm-hmm.
I think actually you're onto something though, because I think about something like Duck Dinner or Sticky Situation, where no one knew what was going on. The rules were just not understood. And I wonder if players would rather get lost in the mystery of how the game is supposed to be played, as opposed to knowing they can just go to the first page, look at the rules and know how it's supposed to play. I built this game to be like a board game. The ones that
which is how I built that game that you were using for the Among Us rule set.
Exactly. I wanted it to be built like a board game. Even going back to Poteet's conflict resolution.
Yeah, he also has a board game aspect with the resources. Like you acquire basically kind of like tokens and you spend them.
But if you go back and look at his rules, they're like 3 lines. You can request resources. You need them. Do it. Alliances let you do stuff. And so during the game, in preparation for these games, by the way, I listened to both your guys' podcasts like 3 times to take all these notes and stuff. People didn't know, what do alliances do? Do I get to see if he can do the night kill? What can they do? Nate, your game even, there was a lot of questioning. Can Mafia pass abilities to each other?
Mafia didn't have published information yet.
I didn't publish all the Mafia's ability, or you didn't publish that the Mafias had roadblocks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a lesson to be learned. Less is more. Maybe I can still have a little bit of here's some rules for you here's basic parameters. The rest is for you to discover. Another player brought up introducing these mechanics in phases. Day 1, you introduce core abilities, and night 1. Day 2 and night 2, you introduce resources.
Uh-huh.
and then day 3 you introduce the hat and the rogue tools.
Graham, what's your take on how much face-up information there should be?
Which faction?
Either or. What do you think Town wants to play right now, or what do you want to play?
Town wants to play 10 good guys, 3 bad guys, and a seer.
Yeah.
That's it. I think that's what Town wants to play right now.
It seems to me that there's this demand, and I guess we can have this conversation now. There's this demand that we have intent. So I think this is probably also a misunderstanding. I think that moderators recently, ourselves, the Pika Bros included, have been making these games that we've had this trend of the character roles have flavor. That's not necessary. We've been doing that to help encourage day one conversation. We've been doing more face-up cards. We have been doing day one events that also increase information or create choices. And all of this kind of play, I think this is what has gotten lost and contributed to some Town frustration. We are designing games. I've been unconscious of this. Maybe you have too, or maybe it's unconscious. We've been designing games that favor town hunting. And it seems to me, I think the best way to classify this frustration that I've seen in dead chats is, and at the end of games, people want to play games that encourage scum hunting instead. What do you think about that, Graham?
Let me process real quick. Hang on. Thinking. I don't know if I agree with that.
Okay, why not? Let me give you some evidence.
Yeah.
0 vote tallies were analyzed this game. No one's vote patterns were given a shit about.
Sure.
There was there's been very little like process of elimination talk from like a roster standpoint. It's mostly been related to like a few players. And then at the end of games, people complain like, well, clearly I was playing like Town played. If you were scum hunting, you would know what Town play looks like. So to me, that speaks to, well, you didn't use the obvious tool that gave you to town hunt, which is to eliminate, like, wasn't it Alabrel's peen was proven as using the investigator, or was that Tomahawk? Tomahawk. Should have been cleared by something that they did. They could have been town cleared. That's one person you process of eliminated. People weren't interested in playing that way. They want to play like who looks the most Mafia. That is how players want to play the game, it seems to me.
As a game designer, you can do to stop that, because that's on the player themselves. If you can't design something where a player isn't going to make a mistake or try a gamble.
Yeah, I think we're giving them the resources to do either or. I think the meta right now just wants to search for town as opposed to use the tool. I think the tools all in Jeff's game could have been used to Mafia hunt, but instead it was used to try to town confirm.
I think it's easier to try to generate town hunting conversation, and that's what I've been trying to do
agree.
when I design a game.
Look at the last few games the town has won. So the mirror mission, Mafia kind of torpedoed themselves day one. Poor, it was not good. But Savior Orb. Savior Orb was won by town hunting. It's plain and simple. It was won by, there was a little bit of scum hunting. People were caught out in dumb mistakes or overreactions. But the majority of the game was won because the town sat down and said, this person needs to be pressured. This person is low priority. This person is an unknown. I don't know the answer, to be honest.
There isn't a clear one.
Yeah.
I don't think you can make a role that is inherently town hunting while not also Mafia hunting. I don't think that's possible.
It's very egalitarian of you.
Thank you.
I don't know. I was telling Pat, because I don't want to get too far down this rabbit hole of like people just on this forum don't know how to scum hunt, and like town makes really stupid choices because we go for players that are genuinely frustrated, and that's usually a case of town versus town, where like we let certain people monopolize conversations, and that should be indicative of who is town and who is Mafia. I just think everyone needs to crawl out of their own ass and acknowledge that you don't recognize Mafia as well as you do. If you did, town would win more often.
Would HeyTrainer Town be better over Zoom?
No, it'd definitely be worse.
I play too much Mafia with too few clothes on for that. So.
Oh no.
It's true.
Well, good luck getting that out of your heads, viewers. Know that every time he wrote a novel, it wasn't just, jerking himself off over having, all this Mafia conversation. He was also literally getting some satisfaction.
Not every time. But so this is actually a really good time to bring up a really solid post made by one of the most town players until the end, which is Mad Coochie. Had some really good town plays. The Bomber was one of the top town players. And he said, and I have shared this post with a lot of people, someone pointed out that Mafia doesn't seem to be giving much away last day, yet our votes have largely been predicated on the notion that they in fact are. Yoshi, Casanova, LPD, all vote candidates that have major red flags. I wouldn't argue against any being a bad vote, but I'm concerned that our level of play here is leaning too much on surface level plays and seemingly obvious errors. It hasn't seemed to be working, so while I wouldn't go so far as to squelch conversations surrounding players like Yoshi, I would caution against pigeonholing in it. And spoiler alert, that's exactly what happened. Yeah. Yeah,
but how do you in the moment decide, like, what if just one of those three people he listed had been Mafia? How do you decide, like, that this is a pattern of us going down the wrong path? Or how do you know, like, maybe you're just so close, right? Maybe just one more person you would finally catch.
One more vote.
Then you look for supporting evidence. Like, don't just be like, well, so and so lied about his ability, therefore he must be Mafia. Take that and go, okay, he lied. Now let's go analyze his vote patterns. Oh, he was the fourth person to vote every time there was town, but on Mafia he was the eighth. Interesting. What else? Oh, he was the 12th person to reveal. Interesting. And you have to expand. It's like, it's like you can use Wikipedia as a starting point for your research with all the sources at the bottom, but don't just copy and paste the opening statement.
Why do we think that vote count conversations went extinct, Graham?
Why do I have no idea.
What happened? Did we just decide that it was, bad metrics? Has the advanced metrics gone beyond voting and we need to look at something else now?
Maybe because no one votes until the last hour, so everything's seen as a panic vote at the end.
I alerted Raptor Zone with my lingo.
I had an analytical opinion on this. I think we in the games we've gotten a lot into the well, what does it matter when I voted? I was busy these days. That's just when I had a chance to vote. I think we've mixed a lot of personal life stuff into the game, so then it's like, oh well, I can't question that he couldn't play that day because of a family thing, and that's just happened to be when he voted.
I have a legitimate actual maybe causation.
Yeah.
In past games, a lot of times people that were taking the time to look back at previous vote tallies and whatnot were always accused of just doing busy work. And normally busy work is associated with Mafia play because it's not true, it's just scum hunting, blah, 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 blah. So I just don't think anybody cares.
Well, and
if nobody cares, then it's not worthwhile. Right. But
I think there's another issue too, is that a lot of people will vote without explaining their vote, or they'll be like, "I agree, vote," or they'll put a post that's just a vote, and then they won't even say anything on it. So you go back and analyze the post, and all you've got is that they were the fifth person to vote. They aren't saying, hey, I'm voting him because so-and-so made a good point. I agree with this, blah, bblah, blah. You know what I mean?
There's like a myriad of... I don't know how to phrase it. Like, there's that's an increasing habit is like a lot of judgment about like how did you place your vote. It used to be that you could come in and like do a single vote. I used to think that was like a pretty good town strategy, was to place a vote on someone without explaining it and then like see how that person reacted. Nowadays it seems like if you do that, people assume that you're doing it because like you don't have a good justification for placing your vote, and that appears Mafia.
I still like the single vote post, for the record. One.
No. I don't think it's bad at a time, but I'm talking about the train is going. You have 2 vote candidates. It's going to be one of those 2 people that gets banished. You now have to pick a side, and your way of picking a side and being the 4th or 5th person to vote is to just vote and say, That's where I think the issue comes up. As town, we always talk about town sharing. Explain your logic. Make people understand why you're doing the actions that you do. Because if you don't, they will make up reasons for why you are doing what they do. And those reasons will fit into their confirmation bias of what they want you to be doing.
Fair. I just wanted to bring this up mostly because I felt like day one, we haven't gotten really to the timeline, but day one, almost all of Mafia had to vote out the Bible Man.
Yes.
Last game, if I recall correctly, all the Mafia was on the first vote. And for a while, we had a pattern where like Mafia was avoiding voting out on day one altogether because vote counts were being analyzed too much. And now the reverse is true, where it's just like, let's just get this guy out of here. We want to make sure we get a kill on day one because we found that that's better than games where there's no kill on day one.
Well, look at Tomahawk's vote. So we talked about Tomahawk, and we'll get to this, I'm sure, was by the rules proven as town. They had used the core ability Investigator. Not that anyone noticed it. There was no reason they should have been the vote. 2 Mafia jumped on that train very quickly and were like, oh, this makes sense to me. And if I were looking back on that vote, I'd be like, okay, well, we understand that Daft Pika was very clear on why they were voting Tomahawk, even though their logic was extremely flawed, and we'll get to that later. But they explained their logic on why they thought Tomahawk was Mafia. Battle Bitch and Bussy provided very weak, kind of like, that checks out for me. And then later on, Sussy and the others are just like, well, we have to make a decision, so we're just going to choose Tomahawk. Yeah,
actually really interesting that I didn't realize, now looking back, JDK was on that vote. Curious.
Yeah.
And no one went back and questioned it. No one. This was the first game of the now 4 games where we've used the role passing things, where no one wanted to analyze the silent votes day 2.
Yeah, everyone. Well,
I thought that goes back
to my
times.
thing with town hunting. That goes back to my thing with people don't want a town hunt. They don't want to like do the things that you can use to prove things in a game we're playing. I know we're not playing traditional Mafia, but it seems to be that there's some kind of anti board game mechanics in the game. Like we don't want things that can actually make the game easier on us in any way. We only want to have to use our intuition, and if that's the case, we can make games like that. But play to win the game that's in front of you is like my thing.
Look, Mafia will continue to win as long as town relies on gut feels, and then when they're told that they're wrong, they respond with, only Mafia would tell me that I'm wrong.
Let's get into there's a few actually let's take a break from town stuff. Let's go over to Mafia stuff. So we've been kind of talking about like strategies town did or did not use. Let's talk about just like a breakdown of the way certain players played the game. I'll start with Master Mukau and JD Koopa, because I think that they were the MVPs this game of
the Mafia team,
the winning team. They played the game like as straight as possible. So little deception on any level. I was actually freaking out the final day, thinking that Master Mukau, when he claimed like, I have caught Casanova, their ability is Mafia, I was like, there is no way he's about to just say like, he has he has one of the ability sets that the players have. Like, I thought that's what he was going to do, is try to like catch him red-handed. No, he framed it in such a way that he was like, guys, I'm playing as honestly as I can all the way through, as well as JD Koopa, just like never overextending, always trying to like be as fair to both sides as possible, and never like trying to seize on any opportunity to nail anybody. Just letting the town dig their own graves and going along with it as if they were, ignorant but well intentioned.
So both Koopa and or both Bussy and Battle Bitch, Koopa and Master Moo Cow, played on the town's weakness. The town was desperate for someone to just agree with them because everyone was fighting. And so then Bussy would come in and be like, "You have a good point. I like your point." And then that player would be like, "Thank you, fellow townsperson. I fell victim to that in Murder Most Foul and Office Mafia, as Poteet is well aware because he was responsible for both of those. And that's how I learned that lesson the hard way." When you feel like no one is listening to you and one person comes up and says, "You have a good point, town. I like your point." You go, "Town confirmed," right there. Now, Busty also had the advantage of picking up on your play, and we'll get to that. I guess we'll get to that in grades, I think, when we talk about individual play. But Bussy and Koopa, he was very attentive to this game. I think he was reading situations extremely well and picking up on them. And you're right, he played it completely straight. He also avoided revealing anything about his abilities, and no one ever questioned it.
No.
There was no reason at this late in the game to be secretive about anything.
And in fact, at one point, I had players messaging me on Facebook going, "Bussy hasn't revealed anything, and that's suspicious." And I'm thinking, cool, you gonna post something about it? And they never would. And obviously town. Then sorry, I kind of stole the conversation there, but I was gonna say we have Poteet, Mafia star, who played, as I like to say, full. He played full Tomahawk this game, and not Tomahawk, but classic Tomahawk 3Ms. Yeah.
No, you're good.
Mm-hmm. A curry, yes. So for whatever reason,
that's where I was going to go next.
I actually had to send him a warning and saying,
This is the curry.
"You did not meet the post requirements. If you don't post more next game day, I'm mod killing you." It blew my mind.
3Ms.
Mafia star Poteet got brought up every single day by someone going, "He's not doing anything. That's really weird." And then they just went. At one point, someone even said, "Only town skates. Mafia wouldn't skate."
I definitely have said that in a previous game.
But going back to Karma Mafia, me and Poteet were the only ones playing, while CR8 and Tomahawk didn't even play, and that's how we won. I
think Tomahawk has done that twice now, wanting a Mafia without playing.
He had in Savior Orb. That's actually how he got caught. Was because Springtime noticed that. I can't remember he was K-Day. K-Day was not doing anything. He wasn't participating. He was watching, and that's how we caught K-Day. There's no excuse, and I mean, there's no excuse for Poteet making it as long as he did. Now that being said, there were efforts. Mamma Mia 64 tried to kill you, and we'll get to why that failed and how Town absolutely shot themselves in the foot with a frickin' multiple times. And on the last night, had you guys not won, Casanova had targeted you with Investigator. So there were people who were looking towards you, but
well, too late, buddies.
Yeah, they were more focused on spike kills during the day.
Graham, why? Why play like this?
It was an experiment, my guy. I could never play like this under an actual Poteet name.
Yes.
I would not be able to get away with it at all.
It was your non-games.
It was honestly a little bit of a thought experiment. So it worked out. And honestly, it was. If you look back on day one, I actually posted like 6 or 7 times, and then early on day 2, we were talking about nobody bringing up silent votes. I brought up revealing silent votes, and nobody said anything.
That's busy work, Poteet.
So at one point you said like, hey, here are my abilities. And I remember, it was late game, by the way. Because people were like, Mafia Star hasn't revealed. Your abilities, you made a ballsy claim because your abilities, you said you had abilities that could be proven.
Straight up had to be proven.
and so then, instead of someone going, that's interesting, Sussy responds by just allying you without any like
nice. Thank
any
you.
explanation and letting you protect yourself from the night kill.
Inexplicable. There was no benefit to that ally that I can think of.
No, and it just blew my mind, and I think it's because this brings up another question, and I'd like to hear your thoughts. Inactivity is a huge problem. We had a lot of town this game who just didn't play. And in one of those cases, I would argue it cost the town their only chance to make a comeback. In fact, it did.
Yoshi's play
cost the town their only chance to make a comeback. And I would argue if Yoshi had read the thread, this game would have at least gone on to day 7 and maybe had been a turnaround depending on the actions that went forward.
Yeah, the longer this game would have gone on, the more questions that Master Mukau and JD Koopa would have had to answer for it. Like, why? I think that the game was the perfect length for them to survive as long as they did, even though they were town voices, because there was always a better, more or a widely considered more town option killed than them, except for the Drizzle night kill. But the one, we'll get to that, but the ones on Alabrel's Peen and the ones on Daft Pika, maybe undeservedly so, and then the one on Choo Choo, all made way more sense than if they had been the kill, at least in my opinion.
Yes, no, I agreed with that. Now people were bringing up why is Battle Bitch still alive, but the only time that really made sense was why was Daft Pika killed over Battle Bitch, I think.
Yeah.
But Poteet had his hand raised.
Yeah. You said why did I play like this earlier? I actually do think, and Jeff brought up a game where me and him were like the big Mafia talkers. And a Mafia team of at least 4 people, it does always feel like there's good if there's at least one option that's kind of the low hanging fruit, that's kind of like a lightning rod to pull criticism away from other players, to always make the town think that there's an easier, just let's X this person as opposed to attention to what the other ones are doing. I don't know.
I agree with that. Poteet, you've been Mafia with me a few times, and you probably noticed that I will always be that lightning rod. I go out of my way to be that lightning rod, and then I'll usually designate someone and be like, "Hey, man, you played under the radar day 1. Keep doing that."
Yeah.
And then especially, I mean, in my opinion, the ideal Mafia team is 1 to 2 active talkers, 1 to 2 skaters, and then 1 to 2 people in the middle. You kind of have that balance, like one of each. And that brings up the question is, what does town do about skaters and people who just don't post or don't play? Do you punish them? Do you target them with night rolls? Do you use the vigilante on them? I don't know the answer to it, though.
There's no good answer. Yeah.
Kill them.
The thing that's really frustrating to me, like unrelated but kind of related, is that the town would not remove the bomber from the game, the independent, once they confirmed
we'll get to that.
We'll
get to that.
We'll get to that.
Because that brings up an old problem. By the way, this is the second time that Jellyfisher, as the bomber, has been outed, and then in the last time he won, and this time he would have won had he not been ability blocked. We'll get to that.
But I bring that up to say, like, this is the most clear-cut case of someone to remove from the game who is not helping you. And even in that scenario, what you want to do this when the game is not close to being decided yet.
Right.
There was ample time to do this. Just get them out of the game. That's one less variable you have to consider. If the town can't make that decision, how are they going to make a decision that, well, let's cut the chaff? There's no way.
And you know what? I think that goes back to our early conversation. You said town wants to rely on gut reads and intuition, okay? The town determined we can control the bomber. We'll just remove his bomb every day. They didn't know that he had the ability to drop a bomb for every 3 resources he had. And by the way, he was going to drop 4 bombs on the final night had he not been ability blocked and win the game. That's what he was, saving up resources. Town didn't know that. Town just assumed that they could control the bomber in the same way that they assume they know how Mafia will play. And again, like, I don't know. This frustrates me because we all know how each other plays for the most part. That's why we went to Anonymous.
Well, this is my argument. The only real argument I think I can make against Anonymous is that at least when we're playing as ourselves, there's more accountability you can hold to somebody for, like, you have been active in the past. You signed up to play the game. Don't sign up if you're so busy. Like, you need to be held accountable after the game for playing, 8% of what, is expected. And that's not to say, like, everybody needs to be a town voice.
Yeah.
But there's a minimum amount of, like, good posts you should make. If you only have time to make 3 good posts, I mean, in my mind, that means, like, have a talking point that you want to get across in a couple sentences in a post. Make a vote, like, proposal, like, I really want to go back to this that they did this other day, or post, like, a dump of reads or something. As long as you can do, like, 3 of those, I think that is enough. And if people don't think you're contributing enough, then that's fine. But, like, if you can't even do that, then we should be able to hold you accountable. And I think that Anon actually works against that, because you, like, don't know who you're talking to. You don't know if it's a new player. You don't want to go hard on them. You don't know who the mod has, like, said gets some, like, extra leeway. I don't know.
Do you think, as a game designer, if at the end of the day phase, we post the vote counts and all that, what if you posted a post count? X player made this many posts during this day phase. X player made this many posts. Don't have to worry about if they're posted content or not. But that way, it's written on paper for everyone to see without going back and trying to remember or look. The Drizzle or, Mafia Star made 2 posts today. And then it's not giving anyone anything that's not public information, but maybe that would cause someone to be like, oh yeah, Mafia Star is playing the game. Do you think that would
be extra work that I'm not going to do personally?
Okay, fair enough. But do you think it would help?
It could. I've had a similar idea. One that I'm not going to use in my next Mafia game, whenever that may be, but one where I was going to cap the number of posts you could make so that no one could do the monopolized talking over everybody strategy. Like, you can only make 10 posts this phase, all players. And so, like, if you run out of posts early in the phase, you're done talking that day. So, like, Mafia could use that strategy and be like, sorry, I can't respond to you. I'm done posting. And Town could use the strategy of, like, you've got 10. You agreed to sign up to use them. Make some of your posts. What do you think about that?
I hate it. Absolutely hate it. Because sometimes you get into an argument with someone. It's that simple,
You'd have to put a lot more thought into your post, though. You'd have to make better posts. You couldn't just, like, come in and like, spam or make pointless comments. It would become more clear if someone was doing, like not taking their thoughts seriously. It'd be more of like an English teacher's Mafia. Obviously, why I came up with it. You've got limited space. Use it more wisely.
So what happens when someone waits till I have 3 posts left and says, by the way, Absoltrainer is Mafia, and here's why, and I now have 3 posts to explain why I'm not Mafia, and I have to answer to 20 people who are demanding to know why I'm Mafia?
Well, why did you wait till your 7th post to make that claim? That would be a good question.
And you know damn well the town doesn't give a shit about that. They're not going to go, wait a minute, you didn't ask this till he had 7 posts left. Or 3 posts left.
That would be part of the game.
I don't hate this.
Yeah.
I don't hate this.
Really.
But
I think it's a good idea, but I'm not currently planning to implement it.
Would that are votes, like, are votes in this 10 as well? Like, what if I made 10
votes
posts?
Are in your posts.
What if you limited them to, instead of 10 posts for the day, what if a day phase was 3 real life day phases, or 3 real life days? You're like, you can post 4 times each real life day of this phase.
I like that less because, sometimes you're busier some days than others. And you're like, well, I only got to play Thursday and I get 4 posts.
What if
okay.
What? Okay, so I guess the
That's
question
fine.
is, why do you want to limit conversation? I guess.
I don't want. Well, we've had several games. This one isn't necessarily one of those, but we've had several games where two people end up talking over each other for pages and pages and pages, and this would prevent that kind of distraction. And it would also that we also have a lot of posts where people just jump in and they only can see, only read what's on the current page, and they make a one sentence post that isn't really contributing much, but it's just kind of like they're chiming in. And when you have less resources of any kind, you have to spend them more wisely. If posts are one of your resources, then you should make better posts. And I think improving the quality of posts is one thing that I would
quality
like to
over quantity.
What about, and here's an interesting idea. You talk about resources. What if quality post earns you the resources to use your ability? If you don't post, you don't get your ability.
That's interesting, but like it's an even more subjective call.
I mean, and that's on. You're right. It is subjective, but I mean, hell, you could just say make it posts in general. And then if someone's spamming one sentence posts over and over, town's going to be like, well, we know that that's how you get abilities. Why are you making all these pointless posts just to get your ability?
I could see that being abused, being like, well, I need to do this for the sake of town. Like, if you vote me out now, then like you don't want town to win because I need to use my ability.
I got a wild idea.
Uh-huh.
What if you limit the phase to a certain amount of posts, but don't limit any particular player?
Oh, that I like. Like a total.
Day one, there may only be 100 posts this day. So if someone's monopolizing it and everybody's like, let me get a word in, but they just keep spamming the thread, does that look sus?
But I guess I don't feel like the problem is
the real danger with that to me is someone gets, like in this game, I think Australian Charizard maybe was the one who kind of rage quit at the end. Someone could
just flames.
Oh, you guys, I'm taking you all down with me. I'm
I
gonna.
was just saying, if I'm Mafia and I get outed by the detective, I'm gonna post 100 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same reason. Yeah, I don't think that works.
Yeah.
For that reason. See, I don't think the problem is too many posts. I really don't think.
I don't think it was this game, but I think in some games this would have helped.
I think the problem, the overarching problem, is too little posting until the last hour of the game. You're given 72 hours to play. There's 16 hours left, and someone goes, so who are we voting for? And then I mean, every single vote this game was decided in the final 10 minutes, which is one reason my updates were so delayed, because I had to write my updates with 2 minutes of warning on who was going to get voted out.
We're really losing the plot here. We're very off track.
I'm sorry.
No, we're good.
What if you had to make quality posts to be able to vote?
No.
What defines a quality post?
Fuck, I don't know.
Yeah, you can do that like differently per mod. I don't know. I like
it's on the player. Play the game you sign up for.
Yeah. Graham, so what would you as a moderator do about you as the player?
Exactly how Jeff handled me. If I fall out of the guidelines or the rules set on day one, warning, and then if it's not followed after that, mod kill.
I feel like you have to. I would have been more strict as a mod on you specifically in your case. Maybe I would have, like, it's a case by case. Like, maybe there's someone that I would have been more lenient to that you guys would have mod killed, right? Who's to say? But I definitely don't want Mafia to win the way that you played, which is tough to say because you don't want to like confirm town by like whether or not you've mod killed them yet or not. But I probably would have tried to find a loophole to mod kill you if you didn't play more.
Maybe push me a little more.
Mod kills hurt the town more than they hurt Mafia. They just do. It's why I had to find a creative solution for the Yoshi issue.
If we had more subs, that's how we would solve the issue. Is if we had more subs, we would just kick people and be like, I changed the password to your account. Like,
well, I mean, let's get a little extreme with it. If you continue to be a player who does not play, you don't get to play in the next game. The
problem with that is, will we just lose the player base totally?
I don't know. It depends. I mean, look, if a player is signing up to not play,
would that improve the quality of, if that improves the quality of games, maybe we'll start playing 11-player games, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, go to a 13-player game or whatever, 11-player game, and you just make it clear, be like, look, if at the end, if you are skating and not playing, and it's clear you're not playing, and you don't have a good excuse given to the mod has the right to request that you not be allowed to play in the next game to the next mod or whatever.
We should make a thread or make some kind of a poll or something and see how people feel about what we talked about.
Players
with, like,
want
maximum posts in a game, maximum posts per player. That's something I'd be curious what everyone feels like. Or like punishments for player. If you don't want those things, like how would you want players who are playing that way to be reprimanded or what?
Yeah.
Let's go on to other things. The only Mafia player we haven't talked about is myself. I hate to like pull that, but the one day I did get to play we've talked about Master Mukau and JD Koopa's playing straight town strategy. We talked about Poteet's skating strategy. What little strategy I got to have ended up just being separation. On day one, I tried to separate myself from Mafia Star by like attacking his flavor, and it almost got him to be the person who was like person of interest number one for like one day there. Like a Thursday, he had like a vote and was like the only person with a vote or something. Luckily, that didn't totally pan out.
Just like everything else with me, it washed away.
Yes.
Yeah.
Washed right off.
I don't have too much to say about your play. I have points to say when we get to your grades and like your individual play, but I mean, like as a Mafia strategy, I think you played very, I don't want to say generically, but you played very Mafia way. You distanced yourself. You were following along with the trend of the crowd. I think you would have ended up being one of those middle players that I talked about if you had survived. I mean, you got called out early. There's nothing you could have done.
Right. So like the only thing I got to do during the game was try to make sure that I didn't look like I try to say on day one, like if people look at my posts, maybe I wasn't on Mafia Star's team. And then from day two, if people look at my posts, maybe I wasn't on Big Bussy's team. And that was what little I got to contribute.
Although I think it does bring up a point. What do you do when you're outed? And I think you, Superstar, had to do this in the last game. Or in my first Among Us game, and you did it this game. Just stop talking, or like just post gibberish, or make. I don't think it's bad sportsmanship to start spamming up the thread and forcing the town to get rid of you.
Be a
You're
pain
Mafia.
in the ass.
Be a pain in the ass. Go full Sergeant Gorilla. That's a throwback.
Well, my 10 post idea would eliminate this, but.
Yeah, well, fair enough. And ironically enough, you started posting gibberish, and then no one even gave a shit.
Part of that was part of my strategy, though. It was to signal to JD Koopa, it's okay for you to counterclaim me. I'm bringing this up. Note with the information that I knew that you had the rogues tools. I didn't want him to think because of my profile as a player that I was trying to like say I'm too important for the Mafia team to lose. I wanted to bullshit a little so he knew, like, okay, I see what he's doing. He can take a fall.
We'll talk about that play. I'd like to save that for grades.
Okay.
Unless you want to talk about it now.
No, it's cool.
Okay, because I have thoughts on that one too. I guess all I was going to say is that there's no way that should have 100% cleared Bussy, because it did. People actually gave Bussy credit for taking you down, despite the fact that the detective very clearly called you out. But they're like, well, Bussy claimed tools, and that's how we caught TPI. We caught Throb and Poteet Island because Bussy had the tools. And there's no way Mafia would counterclaim against their own teammate. And I was just like, there's no logic in that. There's no logic in that. But you know what? Bussy rode that wave with a smile on his face and a beer in his hand all the way to the end of the game.
Oh, thank God I didn't send JDK night one. Oh my God.
Yeah. We talked about this after the game, Graham and I. It was better that I was the one who was eliminated there because I had an intentionally sus claim. JD Cooper did not. His was much more believable. So even though, I would have loved to play at the end of the game, it was better that I went down there instead of him.
Yeah, I think Mafia did very well this game. Look, it's going to be very easy this game to say Town lost, but Mafia won in my opinion. Mafia took the situations and environment and parameters they were given, and they did almost everything.
I think that's pretty uncontested. I think, given that the bomber was roadblocked on the final night, that's like a game-deciding play. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think all their kills were very well chosen. I think that they did a good job of keeping track where everything was. I have complaints about specific plays, nitpicks. We'll get to those, but yeah.
The only other things I think that's worth mentioning before we get into the day-to-day play is one, the bomber's strategy we haven't talked about yet, and that was the honesty, like of you got caught, and like just trying to mediate that line of like, yeah, I'm a threat, of course I am, but you can control it, right?
It's worked twice before. There was no reason for it not to think it was going to work again. In the first game where I created the bomber, it was Jellyfisher actually in that game as well. And I'll say flat out, I gave him that role on purpose. He's the only one I handpicked, and just because I thought it would be funny if he pulled off another bomber win, and he almost did in almost the exact same way, and it was one of the most hilarious things I've ever seen, and also the most sad. But Darth Pika as the bomber in one of the Pika Brothers game. In both those games, the bomber got caught, and then the bomber said, "You guys are right. I'm the bomber. I'm Indy. I'm the bad guy, but the Mafia is our real enemy." And the town proceeded to go, "Yeah, that makes sense." And in both the previous games, the bomber ended up winning, and the bomber would have won this time had it not been for the Mafia. So, thank you, Mafia, for making the most town play of the game by stopping the bomber. Which, by the way, the
was
Mafia,
funny.
I also want to add. Sorry, I just want to add. The Mafia did not need to kill the bomber. The Mafia's win conditions said they had to outnumber the town.
It actually favored the Mafia. I think that he tried to paint himself as the threat to the to the Mafia. Like, they have to get me out of the game.
Yeah.
As much as that helped him, that helped Mafia, I think, as well.
And I don't know if you saw the bomber had an ability that said anyone with a bomb on them basically couldn't touch him. He had ability immunity against someone with a bomb. On the last night, he targeted all three bombers.
But that's similar. That's where one thing, like experience, paid off for us. Mm-hmm. Graham and I both assumed that that's the kind of role that this was, that we couldn't night kill the bomber, based just on the fact that you didn't list his win condition. Mm-hmm. Like I told you during the game, like I thought maybe that meant he was like recruiting people or doing kind of like the life do thing that happened with Xerneas in that one game. That's what I thought maybe this was. But I still thought, if you didn't list his win condition, I don't think we can kill this player.
Well, you could, as long as you didn't have a bomb on him. Or you didn't have a bomb on yourself, you could kill him. And
but then we weren't going to take that risk.
Yeah. What I wanted, and by the way, in case it wasn't clear, the bombs were never going to explode.
Yeah.
That was just a red herring that I thought would be funny. And it was
effective, I thought.
Yeah.
The last thing then I want to talk about, and Graham, we'll start with you. Let's speak in generalities for a moment.
Love that.
When is it okay to lie as town?
Never.
Well, decisive. So then I guess I'll counter.
You said general.
Start this conversation.
You said general.
Yes, general. I think Le Petit Dong made a good lie here. I would give it my seal of approval. I think what they did was town approved. I totally would have bought their townness based on this play. In the future, if someone did the exact same thing, I'm talking specifically about the one where they linked in their post on day one to a Miller claim from a previous game.
Well, no, not that lie. What about the lie where they said, "I have proof that Sussy is Mafia"?
That one, no. Yeah,
okay,
so I guess that should have been more clear.
Yes.
I guess this isn't a lie, but the fact that they didn't claim Miller on day one was kind of is something that people would think is like sus in other games. I thought it was perfectly handled in this game. Now,
I agree.
If someone did it in the future, like the idea has been taken.
Now he had a unique Miller role as well. The Mafia knew he was the Miller, and he knew that the Mafia knew, but the Mafia didn't know that he knew. which is really confusing to say out loud. But
levels.
It's not really a lie, but it is deceptive to be like, I'm the Miller, but I'm not going to claim until this day. And Town could be like, well, that's convenient. You know, maybe you had time to workshop that in Mafia chat the last few nights. And you just came up with like, well, I am the Miller, but I didn't want to claim because this. But here, this makes it more credible. I have all these stipulations, blah, 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 blah. I think the day one breadcrumb, and I think most breadcrumbs suck.
Yes.
Dick.
No, that breadcrumb was insane, and I want to point out that he purposely messed. Okay, that was Fear the Pika. For those who don't know, Fear the Pika is a madman. Okay, Fear the Pika hid his breadcrumb, a literal breadcrumb, by having a post full of links and then having one single period linked to a post where JD Koopa in a past game claimed Miller. Then on top of that, he purposely messed up. He purposely messed up all the formatting in that post, then reposted it with correct formatting, so no one would go back and analyze his first messed up post. Yeah. This is levels upon levels of insanery here.
I wonder if he had seen a play like that in the past on Pokegym or something, and like had that in the back of his pocket for a rainy day, or if he just totally came up with that on his own.
No. The Fear the Pika is just literally that insane. He's literally just a mad genius.
Good job. Hey, let's throw that in the post of the year.
Good job by you.
I don't even know what that would be. Play of the. I don't know what.
Pretty wild.
Are we talking about breadcrumbs right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about Bible Man's breadcrumb?
Go to hell. That's what I have to say about that.
Yes.
You do not know how to do a breadcrumb if you think it's just random words in your post and the beginnings of those words makes a claim. No.
And let's talk about lying for a minute, okay? Making up game mechanics that you think are going to be the rules of the game is not how you will catch Mafia. Don't lie that you can claim more resources than you can and be like, well, anyone who can claim more resources than me must be suspect. Because this was Darth Pika. This is not the first time he did this. In Sticky Situation, he made up the whole Master Pokemon ability, and then when everyone else was like, well, that doesn't make any sense, he was just like, well, only Mafia would call that out. Look, I'm not gonna shit on Darth Pika, okay?
He made some really good post day one outside of the lies.
No, he did, and that is important to note. And actually, in his post game commentary, he made some good comments. But Town has no reason to lie. You're not going to catch the Mafia by lying. You're just going to shield the Mafia from their own lies.
Yeah, I think we're going to give a stamp of unapproval on Bible Man for the Centra thing, for the resources thing. We're going to give a stamp of unapproval to Dark Temptations, the Meta Ducklet thing. Like, that just caused some unfortunate confusion, but, it was what it was. And then you want to really briefly explain the Team of Two and Medbay thing, because I still don't understand what went on there.
Oh, so okay.
Briefly.
So yeah. So his ability was Team of Two in weapons. In my old Among Us games, which his character was from, he had Team of Two was connected to the specialty weapons, or the task weapons. It was a play on that. Le Petit Dong, Fear the Pika, claimed his ability was named Team of Two in Medbay, which players caught on as not making sense. And according to LPD, he just legitimately forgot the name of his ability and never bothered to double check. Either way, you
gotta come clean at that point.
Yes, he never came clean about it. He never even acknowledged it, and it became one of Mamma Mia 64's main arguments for why LPD was lying. Also, I do want to point out quickly about the Miller thing. So early on, Mamma Mia 64 said, well, I'm Pink from the Among Us games, and my flavor says that I haven't seen anyone else like me, so why is Red here? I just was being cheeky, and I made Red a flavor Miller as well.
Yeah, I was. That was one of the things I had written down that in the future I was going to harp on, was like, why does one of the Among Us people say that there's only one of them and the other one doesn't say anything like that? So that was going to be one of my ways to to scum hunt, quote unquote, in the game. But
it was just I made him a flavor miller. I made him a true miller.
You want to have red herrings, I think, if you're going to have flavor like that, for sure. And then Le Petit Dong's like sussy catch. I mean, I guess if it's like down to the last day and it's you get the vote wrong and you guys lose, I guess in that situation, if you're desperate and you feel like you're the town voice, I could see like justifying making a play like that. But at that case, it didn't work. Yeah.
That play was based on flavor. It was based on LPD thinking that Faba should not be town.
Uh-huh.
Flavor. My game was not going to be solved by flavor.
Right.
But a lot of people thought it could be.
Okay, so let's go to just the rundown of the events we haven't talked about yet.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to try to cover turning points in the game. So we're just going to skip all of day 1. We've talked already about Bible Man. Day 2, Throbbing Poteet Isle, myself got caught by AMP. And going down, Big Bussy gets a boost that ends up somehow sustaining him for the entire game, uncontested.
Absolutely excellent play. During the day, the Mafia can't talk. You said you had the tools. You knew Bussy had the tools. Bussy, without hesitation, picks up on your cue, claims he has the tools, says that Daft Pika can confirm because he sent a confidant message, and it seals your fate. And as you said, basically puts him up to town cleared for the rest of the game. Fantastic play. That's how Mafia going down should play. Look for ways. Don't sit there and yell, so-and-so is Mafia, so-and-so is Mafia at your teammate.
I sat on it for several hours trying to like find any out that I had. And I was like, there's no way. Like the more I talk, the worse it's going to come out for me.
The only out I saw you could have maybe made is that Tomahawk admitted to being in the chat with Choo Choo.
Yeah.
And early on said, I knew Choo Choo had the seer. And
for the record, so did I, because I used my ability to target them. Because
you were spying on it. Right. But I'm saying is that Tomahawk would have been your only way. The
only person I could contest, but the reason I didn't try to go like 1 versus 1 and try to like 50-50 them. I didn't want them to look so town when I was done. I wanted there to be a possibility that people could be like, did he get bussed by his teammate?
100%. And then they ask, well, why did he go after Tomahawk and not Battle Bitch, who was also seen targeting with the Confidant ability? So I think you handled it as well as you could have. I had no complaints about your play. So
that day ended up being the one with the emergency eject, and another player was removed. Was that one Dark Temptations? It
was Dark Temptation, and it was a destroy all deceivers mentality. You know, they got rid of Bible Man because he lied. They can't let Meta Ducklet survive.
It just monopolizes the conversation. You can't even like accurately play the game when there's such a big distraction. So yeah.
And we can talk about. I'm sure town lying will come up again, but I think back to in Savior Orb, I did some pretty major lying as the king. But I never lied about my abilities. I proved my abilities, and I was also constantly playing as town. My play didn't revolve around my lie. I was never trying to catch Mafia in the act and be like, that's why I was lying. I was lying because I was trying. I thought the king was a vital part of the game. The same way Raptor Zone in Conflict Resolution as Napoleon, he lied and about being Napoleon because he was concerned that the Mafia would be trying to target Napoleon, who was a key player in the narrative. And the key differences, I think, in those is, one, they didn't monopolize the conversation. The instant anyone even like questioned, are you lying? Both of us came out and said, yes. We're dropping it right now. Here's why we did it. Yes. We didn't spend the entire day monopolizing the conversation. And it's just, the way it was handled this game, I don't think was done right.
Well said. Graham, going into night 2, what was the Mafia's mindset?
Well, we were sad that we lost you. And we felt like I'd have to go back and look and see exactly how Cal and JDK felt, but I think we all felt like we had a decent positioning in the game for all of us because JDK was pretty much cleared. cleared, and Mukai was in a good spot, and I was just riding along for the bottom. But we know we needed a little bit of chaos in there.
Yeah. So you killed the Drizzle. How did you come to that decision?
I don't remember.
Matty Stacks was pissed.
Huh?
Matty Stacks was pissed.
Yes.
Was he?
Yes, he said you killed him because you were scared of him.
I think a lot of it was we wanted to steer the conversation as opposed to, I mean, this goes back to what we're talking about, scum hunting and whatnot. We wanted to steer the conversation away from scum hunting to why would Mafia kill this person? They're two completely different things. You can use them hand in hand sometimes, but if you just focus on why and trying to figure that out, especially on a date or on a night 2 kill, that wastes a lot of time for the town.
I think it did two things. One, it was a confidence killer. I felt like when you don't understand why something that big happens in the game, you're just like, whoa, I need to reevaluate what just happened. And to add on to that, kind of a similar reason, but the next point it leads into is that it makes you, once you're reevaluating the game, you're like, well, I thought I knew who I could trust at the end of that last day when we had some success. Does that mean that the people I thought were at the top of my totem pole weren't? So I think that might have been like an eventual, like, you know, that meme where someone like flicks a domino and the dominoes get bigger and then a later domino falls. This might have been one of the things that contributed to Tomahawk getting eliminated, was they thought they could trust Tomahawk based on what had happened previously, but now there was all this added distrust of like, do I even know like what's happening if Drizzle is the one that the Mafia thought was a threat? Does that make sense?
Get to on day 2. I actually have some insight onto why Daft Pika chose Tomahawk.
Yeah.
Because I asked them.
We can do that now. That's next.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because day 2, so Daft Pika uses deliberation to split the town in half. That was another ability I took from actually your Karma. No, it was from Poteet's game.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it was the Abraham Lincoln ability. I took a few abilities from there, and I was glad to see it used here. So Daft Pika got the. By the way, this was night 1. The Mafia controlled almost all of the town's resources. They had the Protector, the Investigator, the Captain's Hat, and the Rogue's Tools. Night 2, the town actually had these because the Mafia passed them all. Daft Pika had the Protector. They protected themselves. That's
such an underrated part of the game, though. The fact that we had them all that night was crazy. But it makes you so limited in what you can do the following night when you're like, I have all these people we cannot target.
Exactly. And of course, communication was a silent vote and given to Big Bussy, which they were talking to Alabrel's micropenis. Daft Pika had Protector, Captain's Hat, and Rogue's Tools that night. And they used deliberation to split the town in half. They got to make 2 groups. Each group would choose a banished candidate. And then Daft Pika got the final say on who got booted out. Tomahawk had the Investigator. Tomahawk sees Mad Coochie target Australian Charizard, who now has a bomb on them, and absolutely no one puts 2 and 2 together that Mad Coochie is the bomber.
That
Mad
was
Coochie
wild that the guest did not go to them just because.
It blew my mind. It blew my mind. So literally, you see someone has a bomb. You see someone targeted 2 people, including the one who has the bomb, and then the other person says, I self-protected last night. And no one goes, maybe Mad Coochie is the bomber? Maybe we should at least test this hypothesis? But no, Mad Coochie says, I used a completely different ability, and everyone says, makes sense to me.
That was similarly, it reminded me of when I said the Rogue's Tools thing, and people were like, well, let's hear him out. Let's hear the other person counterclaim. I was like, are you serious? Are you guys actually giving me the time of day right now?
And so, yeah, no, I think that's just town laziness. I think it is, honestly. And so then Australian Charizard's the choice for the bottom group at like the last minute, just because he was being antagonistic and people wanted to spite kill him. And Daft Pika told me that, so Daft Pika, Tomahawk, and the Drizzle were in the Shadow Council day 1. They did not vote to give the tools to anyone, so Bussy got them by default because of his opportunistic ability. So that was fun. So Tomahawk was very obvious about who they were in the Shadow Council, and they were trying to drop hints and be like, maybe we should all reveal, and maybe we should figure this out. And Daft Pika figured it out and said, that must be a Mafia thing. They want to know who I am so they can tell their buddies to kill me.
Oh,
So Daft Pika came to this realization after passing the Protector
to
Tomahawk. To make matters worse, Daft Pika announces to the thread, I have passed a core ability to Tomahawk. I want to vote them so it's out of play and they can't have it. Bussy, our Mafia, knew that they had passed the Protector to Daft Pika. They knew the Protector went to Tomahawk. They knew if Tomahawk gets voted out, the Protector's out of play. The Mafia then knew they could kill Alabrel's micropenis without any chance of them being protected. And in one fell stroke, the 2 town-confirmed players of the game are killed.
Yeah, I think the most pivotal momentum shift in the game, to be sure.
It was one of, and there's another one coming up. But yes, this was a huge fatal moment for the town.
Oh yeah, well that's the next thing on our docket is the vid shot on night 4. So we can just talk about that next.
Yeah, because I don't think anything really happened.
Too important in between.
Day 3 was just Australian Charizard getting spike killed.
Pretty much, yeah.
That
was a personality kill, I think.
Yeah, it was a personality kill because it was between him and Casanova.
Yeah.
But yes, that was a huge thing for the Mafia. And to make matters worse, Daft Pika passes the Protector and the Captain's Hat back to Bussy. To the Mafia. The Protector is out of play. Alabrel's micropenis dies, and it removes the detective and communication from the game. Huge play.
Tough stuff. So night 4, going into night 4, Mamma Mia admits that they have a vid shot that is still unused, and that it's basically unblockable because Yoshi also has it on the board face up, not face up, but admitted to protection roll.
They have 2 protection rolls. If they have an ally, they protect from the night kill. If they don't have an ally, they protect from non-lethal.
Right. But even so, like they can get the kill off no matter what, even if they aren't protected themselves from the night kill. And even they can get around the like weather thing, the chaos or the calm because of the tools. Yes. Or the hat, whichever one. I don't know.
Well, no, they had the tools.
Okay.
Battle Bitch gave Yoshi the hat, so even though Yoshi did not have the resources, he had the hat and he got his protect.
And somehow, even though it's a surefire shot, and they fulfill the requirement of choosing 2 town players to go with them, does not work. And Mafia, even knowing Mafia knows that they have no way to stop this, but they still choose to use a roadblock because they have nothing better to do with it.
This was agonizing. So Mamma Mia, after kind of losing to his emotions with Australian Charizard and really going off the rails, he kind of gets his shit together for a bit and he goes, guys, I have a kill roll. Yoshi has a protection roll. We can prove 2 people here, and we can decide on someone to kill.
This is a moment of clarity that was just like so sudden. It was like the skies opened up. Town has this brilliant hope.
He lays out his plan. He even says basically, I'm gonna kill Mafia Star, and that's who he's gonna kill. And he chooses 2 town people to go with him, and I think Bussy, 1 Mafia. It doesn't matter.
Graham, how are you feeling at this point?
I'm nervous.
And Graham thinks he's gonna die. I thought he's gonna die, and I message AWAST Yoshi, who, and I go, hey man, you've got the hat. You have 1 free use of your ability. Who do you want to use it on? And he basically says, I haven't read the thread, Daft Pika. And did not even skim the thread. The reason he chose Daft Pika, he did not even read the thread at all. Didn't even bother.
Oh, jeez.
Maybe he skimmed it. Because, so what happens is,
whoops,
Mamma Mia gets blocked. The kill doesn't go off. This would have been huge. Not only would a Mafia member be dead, but he would have had 2 players, because Daft Pika would have died that same night. Daft Pika was one of the players he brought with him. He now has 2 players. He knows, since Daft Pika is town, that those 2 players cannot have the same alignment if one is Mafia, because otherwise he would have died. This would have been a huge information flip for the town. It would have changed the course of the game. Mamma Mia might not have gone down his road of insanity of wanting to kill Yoshi, which is what he does the next night, because
eye for an eye.
This. I mean, we talked about in the past. What do you have to do to, like, what is considered truly burning down the town? This is burning down the town. This is lighting the match. This is pouring the gasoline. This is lighting the fire and walking away, being
Right.
proud of yourself that you've created your first campfire.
And then to wrap up, we pretty much covered the most important things. And the final day, JD Koopa makes a misplay by not passing the protector roll on time. So Mafia has to make this choice on the final night of who they're going to attempt to kill to win the game, who they're going to roll block.
Well,
And-
it's okay because Yoshi forgot to pass the hat and it went back to Bussy.
That'll do it.
Oh.
Yeah, so it should have been much more decided going into the final night, but even so, they avoid that misplay thwarting their win condition, and they thwart in the process Jellyfisher's win condition of using all these resources to set up these bombs, and that's all she wrote.
Yes, and that, actually, I guess for day 5, I should also point out that Mad Coochie drove Mamma Mia 64 to the point of insanity. Jellyfisher was in the tribunal, basically just
I'm
acting like a
surprised
complete
that Town
troll.
didn't pick up on this sooner.
He's acting like a complete troll, and Mamma Mia is losing his mind. Atarian at one time messaged me and says, I can't handle this. He's just like, this is too much. I'm walking away from the game for the next night. I'll come back when I'm not. He was going through, I think at one time, I shared something he said with Cam, and Cam just goes, that's a whole anime arc of emotions right there. I feel for Mamma Mia 64. He was trying, but he was just not. He was getting taken advantage by the Mafia and the Bomber.
Indeed.
So, yeah, night 5. Mamma Mia had the Protector and he had the Vigil. Mafia chooses to roll block, ability block the Bomber. So if Mamma Mia, and this was closer than it should have been. So remember that Mamma Mia is immune to the night kill because he's been passed the Protector roll by Bussy, but the Mafia don't know Mamma Mia has it. Casanova has the Investigator role, and he chooses to go after Mafia Star. So if the game goes to the next day, Mafia Star is going to get caught. Casanova can also not be killed. So theoretically, if Mamma Mia chose to protect another town member, there was 3 townspeople out of the 5. Out of the 3 who were remaining, who could not be killed. In theory, all of town could have been protected if it was played correctly. Mamma Mia chose to protect himself. Fair enough. He had no idea that he would be immune or anything like that. He wanted to make sure he got this kill off. He chooses this time to kill Yoshi, and he brings. At one time, he told me he was going to bring Mafia Star, Bussy, and Battle Bitch with him, because he ends up not. He ends up bringing Sussy, Casanova, and Battle Bitch, but because the town had just played so poorly, Battle Bitch. Mamma Mia's reads were just destroyed. He had no, and I don't blame him, because I think we've all been in situations like that where you're just like, everything has gone tits up. There is nothing going right.
No.
I have to be wrong. I don't know what to do. So he ended up latching on to the fact that Yoshi tried to go for Chaos day 1 despite not having a Chaos ability, and he's just like, and Yoshi didn't protect him, and he says, I'm going to kill Yoshi. Had he killed a Mafia member, the game would have continued going. Had he protected the night kill, the game would have kept going. it was that close, and I don't blame him for choosing wrong.
No, I don't think his logic was wrong, was totally wrong, but it just was unfortunately not totally anchored in the right assumptions.
But I do want to point out how close this game was to going on and changing pace.
For sure. All right, we still have some segments left. We got Moment of Zen. We're not going to cut that, but to do that, we need to rapid fire some grades.
Yes. I'm sorry.
You're cool. But I do want to throw in a new segment here really quickly.
Oh.
We're going to go to $1 Million Mafia picks with Bill Scummins.
What?
Graham, get on in here. I've got some rapid fire questions for you. Who's at the top of your pyramid right now? Has anyone gone up a level as a result of this game?
Oh, yeah. JDK's really gone up a level recently. It's just like he's flipped a switch recently, and I think he's flipped it so many times it's just stuck in the on position now.
He's totally the Jake Paul of Mafia right now. He's redefining the way that we look at the game and who's interested in it.
If he were a social media platform, he'd be TikTok.
So, who else is in that top threshold of the pyramid? Who's in the historic top 75? Would you say? Would you say that they're as good as Dwight Howard? Yes or no?
Well, I had to cut a lot of people from my pyramid, but I'm not sure. I had Jade, and they just didn't make the cut. They were out at 76.
You got to have some historical ones. There's Larry Bird. There's Jade. You know, they're both pretty good. What would you say was the wonk play of the game?
That's a great question. Can I pick one that we've already discussed?
Yeah.
I think the wonk play of the game is the Yoshi Protect. What is that? What is that?
What is he doing? It's like he's sitting out there on his patio with his shirt off. I don't get it.
I know. He just
what an alpha move.
No, that's total alpha move. Doesn't care about anybody else. Is he the sixth best player at the town left at the time?
Raptor Zone coming off anytime.
I've already written down where to cut this.
You're not cutting this.
Wow, rude. This is gold.
This is Bill Scummins.
Gold to who? Exactly.
Implying that more podcast is going to be a complaint for anyone.
No, this is Bill Scummins.
Yeah.
All right, give me feedback on Bill Scummins.
Who's the alpha dog of this game? You know, you just walk into a thread and you look around and you
take
say,
his shirt off.
Look at that guy. He's got his shirt off. He's the alpha. Who does he think is Mafia?
Maybe that's how we play Mafia from now on.
Yeah.
Everybody just takes their shirt off.
Wait, no. Who would you throw the car keys to in this game? Who would you throw the car keys to?
Who would you throw the town car keys to?
Well, the most town players was the Bomber and a Mafia. So.
I wouldn't trust Matt Cucci with the car.
Who can run who could lead a franchise right now? Do you think Rax could lead a franchise?
If I was building a team right now, I think I'd build it around JDK. I don't know.
Fake trades. Would you trade Pro Hawk for Yoshi right now?
I think so. Well, it depends. What's kind of sad? And how many years does Pro Hawk have on his contract?
Wait, do you think we can get? I'm trying to think of a player who didn't play. Do you think you can get Tomahawk for a second round pick right now?
Oh, that would be a steal.
Okay. What do you guys think about newcomer Redidos, rookie, right on first time out in the big leagues?
Oh, it wasn't bad for a second round pick.
Sorry, I'm just trying some new stuff out. Okay.
Do you think if the Master Dancer walked into a bar without his shirt on, he'd be playing Mafia?
Yes.
It worked better over the phone the other night, Graham. It was better when it was the first time. Now we're trying to rehash it.
I know. I'm trying to remember everything we talked about.
I'll have to get more inspired. Anyway, let's go to the grades.
Wait, real quick. Hey, Kyle, over under C+ for Throbbing Poteet Isles grade.
I'm gonna take the over. Okay. How about I bring that down? I'm gonna what's the word I'm looking for?
Tease.
I'm gonna tease that. The over C+. I'm gonna bring that down to a D-, a D+. So now I've got more value, but I'm gonna tie over D+, Throbbing Poteet Isle with over 14 and a half players in the next Mafia game.
What if we parlay all of the Mafia people from this game's vote? What do we tease it down to? What's the Vic on that?
Good question.
I'm just
We're gonna have to
imagining
turn to Vegas for that one.
the view. I can just imagine the listener right here is just going like, "Oh my God, what grade do I have?"
Well, let's give it to him. Do you want to go? Do you want to go winners first, losers first?
Oh, I'm gonna do lowest to highest. I'm gonna keep the tension.
Oh, okay.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Well, that kind of kills the tension, in my opinion. But
Whoa, would you like? I mean,
You want the?
Oh,
you want?
yeah,
because
yeah.
you'll know toward the end if you haven't heard your name yet, right?
I mean, so remember, I
okay.
divide. Yeah, fair enough. I mean,
I see what you're saying.
how would you like to do it?
Freaking smart.
Would you like to go down by player then?
Yeah, I mean, we can do it your way. We can go lowest to highest. It's your
Wait, hang on, Jeff. Do you have these numbered on what's in front of you?
What do you mean?
Like,
do I have
are they in
the-
roster or are they in roster order? Are they in any particular type of order?
They're in letter order right now, and I
Number
divide-
4. I want the 4th player on your list.
Like just from the top.
Yeah, just from the top.
That would be B plus because I do A plus, A minus, B plus.
Oh, they're in order right there. Oh,
yeah,
fuck.
yeah.
Okay, never mind.
What was
mean,
Choo Choo's
it-
grade? This is Superstar.
Okay,
We'll go with
okay.
Superstar. Go to Choo Choo.
So Choo Choo got a C plus, even though he didn't play very long, and that's kind of like C plus is good intention but poor execution. For as little as Choo Choo played, he wanted to share, he wanted to reveal. He was actually pretty active day one. His biggest misplay is that you get to a night chat with Tomahawk night one, even if he doesn't know that the chat's being watched, which he doesn't. It was being watched by Throbbing Poteet Isle, you Renfield. He had zero reason to just outright tell Tomahawk, who he has no idea if is town or mafia. He just goes, "Hey, I trust you based on day one. I'm the seer right now." You have a confidant message. Send it to your confidant. Say it the next day. Don't say it during the night, because that's ultimately why he was killed. Was because I think Renfield goes into the mafia chat excitingly. It's just like, "Shoot, she's seer," and I think his seer target was right. He went to target Dark Temptation 69, and if he hadn't just outright said, "I have the seer," and gotten killed over it, Dark Temptation 69 probably wouldn't have been voted for day 2. Yeah. So, good intentions, poor execution. He didn't get to play very long.
All right. C plus for Superstar. Let's go to AWAS, who played both Dark Temptations and then subbed in for Yoshi.
Oh boy. Okay, well we'll start with Dark Temptation. Dark Temptation gets
separate grades.
yes. Oh yes, very much. Dark Temptation gets a C minus for what I call existed, but existed poorly. So there's players who just existed, they kind of were just there, and then there's players who existed but still managed to do it poorly. Dark Temptation is one of those. I don't think his lie was as egregious as Le Petit Dong's or Bible Man's, because I don't think it actively hurt the town, and he was also very quick to kind of say, "Hey guys, I lied, I messed up, I was trying to be cheeky, it didn't work." Town was put in a tough spot. I don't see a reason where they can't vote him, especially after Choo Choo died. Choo Choo dying just made it worse. I gave him a C minus. I think he had some good intentions, and I think he damaged control decently well, but he just put himself in a bad spot. Yoshi gets an F. If Yoshi burned down the town, Yoshi actively hurt the faction, his own faction, with his actions or lack thereof. All he had to do was protect Mamma Mia. All he had to do, and then the next day, I think he goes in and he says, "Well, you shouldn't have made that gambit." And everyone's going, "What's the gambit?" He goes, "The gambit was that you expected me to read the thread."
I'm sorry. You shouldn't expect players to play optimally.
Yeah, and like again, like Mamma Mia.
when the play is right in front of your face.
And Mamma Mia's begging him, "Protect me. You have zero to lose on it." That we once a while ago, you guys asked, "What does a player have to do to deserve an F?" Yeah. This is what you do to deserve an F. Yeah. So, Yoshi gets an F.
All right. Now we'll go to Darth Pika playing Bible Man.
Darth Pika gets a D, and Bible Man gets a D. And I say that because he acted selfishly and he didn't intend to hurt his faction.
I thought you were about to go, we split up AWAS grade into Dark Temptations and Yoshi. Now we're going to split up grades for Darth Pika and Bible Man. Darth Pika gets this grade, but Bible Man gets this grade.
No. Look, the day one lie was selfish. and he just kept digging it deeper and deeper, even when people were calling him out for it. It hurt the town because he monopolized the conversation day one, and he put himself in a situation where town has to go, well, we can't not banish him at this point.
No.
We can't let that behavior get away. So that's a D. We talked about it. We don't approve of. Your town, don't lie. Don't play like you're Mafia. Mafia has to lie. You don't. You're not that important. No town player should ever be that important that they have to lie. Granted, yes, you don't have to come out and be like, hey guys, FYI, I'm the seer. But also don't come out and be like, hey guys, I'm the protector when you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And then because that's just going to cause the other protector to start pushing against you because he doesn't want to say he's the protector, but he's trying to counterclaim you. Don't lie. Yeah.
Let's go to Krelite, CRL88T. That always sounds to me like an ad, like you're saying like a number to call. Playing Tomahawk.
There were 13 M's, by the way. So Tomahawk got a B for basically attempting to help the town but hurt by outside factors. Tomahawk was trying to play town. Tomahawk was trying to like scum hunt and town hunt, but town was just like, well, we're gonna vote for you even though you're proven town. Even though Daft Pika trusted you enough to give you the protector role 24 hours ago, now they're gonna kill you. I gave them a B. I think that if Tomahawk had been allowed to live, they would have been a solid town asset.
Agreed. Let's go Fear the Pika, Le Petit Dong.
Oh boy. Fear the Pika, Le Petit Dong. Like his brother, Bible Man. He lied. Like his brother, Bible Man. He kind of monopolized the conversation. And that lie is ultimately what led him to get banished on day 5 instead of much better choices like the Bomber or discussing Battle Bitch or Bussy or Mafia Star. It ended up being, we got to get rid of the liar. And these lies, I think it's so important to point out that these lies, not only do they monopolize the conversation, but town doesn't have a good basis for their information. Day 1, day 2, and day 3 are so vitally important for establishing information. And when you don't know who to trust and you don't know who's lying and what town is reliable and what town isn't, what are you even supposed to base your evidence on? So, and Le Petit Dong gets a D for the same reason Bible Man does. Don't lie as town.
The Drizzle, Matty Stacks.
The Drizzle gets a C, a neutral C, which is the category I have for existed, because that's what the Drizzle did. He did nothing. I will say the Drizzle absorbed a kill from probably a more active player, so that's a plus right there. He didn't even really contribute to the Shadow Council at all, despite being on it from day 1. In fact, as I said, day 1 there was no votes at all. Day 2, it was just the other 2 who voted, so the Drizzle gets a C for existing.
Okay. Redado's playing Casanova.
So Redado's played Mafia back in the Pokegym days, so he's actually not... He's new to the HeyTrainer meta, but not new to the Pokemon community meta.
Which shed some light on the way they decided to play the game early. It was probably, like they were playing the game the way that they remember it, and then adjusting on the fly to the way, like the attitudes of the players, the way that we've been playing more recently.
This was the hardest person to grade because his late game play was really fantastic. In fact, I ended up giving him a B+ because I wanted to give him an A-, but his early play kind of kept him out of that category, and I don't think he would have been a B either. And the reason I gave Casanova a B+ is because Casanova is doing something that a lot of players can't do. He had late game play, and he even admitted, he said, I'm not an early game player. A lot of early game players are really good early game and they get killed off by the Mafia or by the town or what have you, and you're left late game with all the inactives and the skaters and the players who really aren't a threat to the Mafia. Casanova, during day 4 and 5, was basically during day 5 especially. He was the only one who started going, "Why is Battle Bitch cleared? Just because of their ability? Their ability could be Mafia. Why has Bussy not claimed his abilities? Why is Bussy cleared because he claimed tools?" He even started. I think he was going after every single Mafia member, but because you had Yoshi who wasn't playing, Sussy who was convinced Battle Bitch had to be town and refused to like even acknowledge the possibility that they weren't town, and Yoshi who wasn't even playing, and Mamma Mia who had basically gone off the deep end. It kind of came too little too late. But I would say that had the town listened to Casanova, the game could have gone a different direction. So he gets a B+ because he was kind of the voice of reason that no one was listening to.
Yeah, from the sidelines, I was really impressed by their late game play, like you were saying. I actually thought there was a chance they might convince the other town like that they were on the right track with Bussy and Battle Bitch.
The fact that Battle Bitch... Oh, go on.
But what ended up preventing that from happening is they didn't have the credibility. Because they didn't play the early game, which they admitted to, like that's not their style. Well, at least in this metagame, people are going to be suspicious if you start talking late. Like, did you kill off the other town voices so you could be town voice? Is that why you're taking this stage now? Have you like pruned the information like I was talking about earlier in the pod? Like, are the questions you're presenting convenient and you know that? So there's going to come with like you're not going to have the credibility to be town voice if you only talk at the end of the game.
What impressed me was that Battle Bitch came out. Battle Bitch is a super credited town player at this point, and he comes out and says, "Look how sketchy this role is." And he's framing the hell out of this role. He's saying, like, it steals resources. It undermines the tribunal. It's so bad. And Casanova, without betraying any sort of defensiveness or, like, without coming off as frustrated, basically goes, "Nah, you're wrong." And even though there was an early kind of push for him, the town agreed. They backed off Casanova, and I think the only thing I would have liked to see him do is maybe push. Why is Battle Bitch? Why was he rushing to go after me? And that was because it was kind of a greedy play on Battle Bitch's part, and we'll get to that one. And we'll get to that. And I think Casanova and Casanova. Redditos1 says he'll be sticking around for future games, and I welcome that. I think he'll be a really good addition to the community.
Welcome in. Yeah. Let's go to Rax playing the Microphallus.
Yes, Alabrel's Micropenis, played by Rax, as a B+. Properly helped the town. Was spot on with going after yourself, Renfield, Throbbing Poteet Island with the detective. Approached the results logically. Didn't hold the information hostage like some players like to do. And going back and reading their night chats with Bussy and with Bussy, they were kind of holding their cards close to their chest. I could tell they didn't really trust Bussy. Mm-hmm. And I think if Alabrels had made it to late game, they would have been a force to be reckoned with. So, and Mafia knew that too, which is why they took them out. So good job on Rax. They proved that even though they don't play in every game, they're a force to be reckoned with.
What was the grade there?
That was a B+.
Okay. I just want to give credit to Rax for being one of the few players who were accountable after the game for their own play. Mm-hmm. I felt like most people were defensive about their own actions and how they caused the game to play out the way it did. But the player who made the most decisive play in the town's favor was one of the few people who said, I didn't have the right perception of the game all the time, and that's something I'll have to look back at and consider in the future. And so,
yes, and they were actually one of the few people who said, I really messed up on the Tomahawk thing, even though their vote wasn't on Tomahawk. I think it was maybe at the very, very end, but still, regardless, points to them for actually helping their faction. And
go to Atarian playing Mamma Mia 64.
Oh boy, this was another one where the vote went, or the grade went, because I updated my grades every night phase, and this was another one that was all over the place. He gets a B- for attempting to help their faction, but being hurt by their own execution. Mamma Mia 64 was at times completely caught up in his own confirmation bias, especially with Australian Charizard and later on with Yoshi. But at the same time, he really got his act together when he was planning to take out Mafia Star with the ability block, and had Yoshi not sabotaged him, I think that kind of drove him over the edge, to be honest. Mamma Mia was a little obsessed with flavor hunting, but other than that, I think a solid B- grade.
Let's go to ProHawk playing as Australian Charizard.
ProHawk, Australian Charizard gets a C+. Good intentions, poor execution. Australian Charizard, aka ProHawk, gets hemmed up for the same thing every game. They refuse to just go along with the flow. Like, if everyone's revealing, they'll sit there and be like, hold up, let's not reveal everything at once. If players, are just like saying like, we should all do this, and everyone's just blindly agreeing he'll be the one to be a little antagonistic. I think he was a little too antagonistic this game, which is why I said poor execution. Australian Charizard says a lot of good things, or ProHawk will say a lot of good things. He has a good head on his shoulders when it comes to seeing through the bullshit of HeyTrainer Town. I've seen that time and time again. Well, he'll be like, wait a minute, why aren't we talking about this? But he comes off, and I suffer from the same problem. He comes off very aggressive and antagonistic, and it causes players to not want to engage him in conversation.
I will say in his favor that he plays the same way, whether he's Town or Mafia, and I think that's part of his strategy and why he plays that way. And that, that's something I think about, and I'm sure you guys think about, is like, you don't want to play one way when you're Town to win the game and then not play that way. I feel like that's something we've all kind of even caught each other on when we notice each other playing differently.
I don't think he played poorly. I think he plays in such a abrasive way to how the rest of HT Town wants him to play that it just consistently.
Well, it's not even that. It's just an abrasive way to, like, the tools available to you. Just absolute denial of all of the resources that you have at your disposal.
Right. And I think he could have been. I want to be clear. There's a reason he's down in C+. It's because I think he could have been more cooperative at times. Like, he could have been a little more open about his abilities. He could have, been a little less aggressive and kind of reactive in his responses to people.
Let's go to
I get it.
Let's move on. Orgastic Anarchy playing as Sussy Widow Baka.
She also gets a C+ for good intentions, poor execution. She latched on to Battle Bitch being Town and never even considered otherwise, because Battle Bitch knew what her ability was. Proving your ability doesn't make you Town. It just means you've proven that you have the ability that you said that you have. Sussy Little Baka felt like they were never really interested in having their mind change so much as interested in having their confirmations confirmed, if that makes sense. They felt very stubborn throughout the game.
Yeah, I think I've said before in games, like, you have to have your own assumptions. Like, of course, you always reevaluate them. But if you play the game like a rudderless ship, which kind of happened to Mamma Mia, as we talked about a little bit, like, they change their assumptions a little too often. You have to have something that you can hold on to that gives you confidence in some direction to go. And they just held on so firmly to one thing, it seemed to me, and that was that Battle Bitch had to be Town based on their ability.
Yeah. And the other thing,
that was ill-advised.
The other thing they had is that they had no use in. Now, the Town wasn't tracking core abilities, so they didn't realize Detective was gone. Sussy Little Baka was useless in Calm, but they had a really powerful ability, I thought, in their Chaos ability, which allowed them to basically switch people's Chaos abilities with other people. Not only could this be used.
I was really afraid of that. Yeah, I said that in the thread.
Not only could it prove if someone was lying about their ability, and it was an expensive ability. They were only going to get it off once or twice. But going to Chaos, that would have been really powerful. Or the other utility I had for it is that if someone was going down who was Town, and they thought, like, let's say Yoshi was going down, and Sussy thinks, well, I believe that their ability is what they say it is. Because they had, excuse me, I'm misremembering. Their ability could only be used at night, excuse me. But regardless, it allowed you to take abilities. And that was actually something I put in as a kind of inactive player counter as well. So if there was a player who had a really useful ability like Yoshi, who wasn't playing, the town had a way to redistribute who held that ability. I was disappointed not to see it used. I also thought that Sussy Little Baka should have caught Battle Bitch because of that. Because Sussy even said that their ability specifically said, this will not give you any information as to the alignment of who it came from. And likewise, Sussy Little Baka's ability required, I think, 8 or 9 resources, while Battle Bitch is only required 4. Sussy required an alliance, or required 2 cooperating players. I mean, Battle Bitch just seemed to have such a better version of Sussy's ability, and I wish they had caught that.
Oh, I felt differently. I think the ability to move abilities is almost like game breaking. That seems like more powerful to me.
Let me be clear. Yes, their ability was powerful, but Battle Bitch's ability was very cheap and like so easy. I guess that's what I guess I was getting at.
True. Let's go to Springtime Bugling, who had my favorite username of the game, Daft Pika.
Yes, Daft Pika got a D+ for unintentionally hurting the town in a fatal, or unintentionally hurting their faction in a fatal way. We talked about their day 3 play. They basically got the only 2 town confirmed players killed. They took the protector out of play. They kind of had the same thing that Mamma Mia suffered from. Daft Pika was constantly jumping at shadows and being like, why is this person getting buddy with me? They must be Mafia. Why is this person agreeing with me? They must be Mafia. Why is this person think that I have good ideas? They must be Mafia. And they got so in their own head that it's ultimately what led to the Tomahawk decision.
Makes sense. We only have the Anti-Town left. Let's go to Jellyfisher, who played Mad Coochie.
Yes, Jellyfisher. Mad Coochie gets an A for played beyond expectations this game. Look, I mean, he got called out and reacted so calmly to it. Granted, the town just ignored the fact that he got called out. But
something interesting that never came up in the game, it was up to the Mafia to catch them. It was all Battle Bitch and Big Bussy who kept angling, even without like saying so. Like, we think it's one of these players, and then Big Bussy would try to convince the town, like, okay, we need to whittle it down from here to here to here. Well, it's got to be one of these 2. Like, yes. they were so sure. No one ever thought, like, Mafia has a better idea of who's the bomber than the town does. I was really worried that conversation would come up, even that the bomber would bring it up, like, they can process of eliminate better than the town can.
By the way, you scared Mad Coochie with your Bomberman claim. So Throb and Poteet Island claims that they're Bomberman, who was in the trailer. Mad Coochie immediately is like, oh, that's an anti-bomber character. And just assumes. So that's why he bombed you on the first night.
I thought it was just like a cheeky joke. Like
No. Because remember, he's immune to all abilities from a player that has a bomb on them. So he wanted to make sure you, if you were Bomberman, could not do anything to him. So, and then he gets called out by the investigator, gets away with it. Amazing. It blows my mind.
Makes no sense.
No.
Then the next day, he gets caught. He gets caught by Big Bussy. And he proceeds to be like, we talked about this. Don't worry about me, guys. I'm indie. I ain't a threat. HeyTrainer Mafia had a problem in the past where anytime someone claimed indie, they would just let them live to endgame. Every single time. And I thought we broke that habit because indies are not your friend, town. Especially in this game when I made it very clear he had his own secret win con.
Yeah, we did have a time actually where there were lots of benevolent indies or indies who won independent of town, and I think for that reason a lot of indies got away with it because of those ones. But it's been a while since we had one of those, hasn't it?
Yeah, and to clear up, by the way, Mad Coochie's win con was completely separate from the rest of the game. If he had reached his win con at any point, he just left the game and then would come back for the end game narrative to basically share in the victory. So had he won day 3 for whatever reason, he would have left the game, The bombs would not have exploded. They would have been sitting on everyone, freaking everyone out. Mafia in town would hash it out, and then he would have come back and basically earned. This is what makes it all the funnier is that Mafia prevented him from winning. Had they not ability blocked him, he would have just won alongside the Mafia.
Yeah, we're not sharing. We're greedy.
No. I mean, well played. I mean, absolute victory. But
go away, Jelly.
But yeah. So and then of course his tribunal chat, which for the I'll post that in the thread. He was an absolute mad lad in there. As you guys haven't seen yet, but oh man, he was just driving Mamma Mia and Casanova crazy in there.
I can believe it.
Well played. I think he played chaotic evil this game so perfectly.
And then we just have 4. Let's go to Throbbing Poteet Isle.
Oh man, Mr. Renfield himself. You get a B. So you get a B because you can't do anything about being hit by the detective. There's nothing you can do about that. And we talked about this already in Mafia play, but you handled it very well. The tools play was fantastic. The talking gibberish play was fantastic.
I was going to write so much more. If they didn't eliminate me in midday, I had another chapter I had started. And then at one point, when you gave me the dead chat, I was like, I'll just post it here, but everyone was being a dick, so I just decided it wasn't worth my time.
Yeah, so
can have nice things.
You didn't do much. I think your claim was pretty ballsy. I don't think it was a good claim. You told me your logic was that you were so late to claim that you wanted to claim something so over the top that the town would be like, there's no way Mafia would claim this. That was your logic for claiming Bomberman. I think you were overthinking it personally. I think you could have claimed whatever the hell you wanted, and town would have just been like, sure.
Yeah, that's true. One thing that kind of bugged me was part of our hints was that we knew that there were players in the trailer that we could claim.
Yeah.
And so I was like, one of my reasons was I wanted to pick someone that like people may not like recognize from the trailer. People weren't going to go back and watch it. And so they were in the trailer, but like, you know, I didn't know who that character was. I think they're pretty like less recognizable than others. The only person who pointed out I was in the trailer was Master Mukau. And I was like, oh no, if it ever comes out that we were all in the trailer, that is going to come back to bite him. So I was actually afraid that my claiming Bomberman might actually harm us that way. But
by the way, going back really quick to Mad Coochie, he did not have all of the information about fake claiming that you guys did. So he was the only one who claimed Delibird who wasn't in the trailer. But yeah, he had all those other bonuses that I felt that he didn't get that. But yeah, so sorry, going back to you.
No, that's fine. Is there anything else, or are we ready to go on?
No, I think that's everything.
Let's do Poteet playing Mafia Star. Or sometimes.
Yeah, he gets a C for existing. He was literally the drizzle of the Mafia team.
Let's go.
Good Mafia chat posts.
Yeah, no, and he made some good Mafia chat posts. But honestly, JD Koopa and Master Mukau were leading the charge in the Mafia chat too.
I didn't have to work too hard this game.
No, not at all. The fact that you won and survived, despite me having to literally warn you that you're about to get mod killed for not posting, is a nomination for the Curry Lurker Award of the year.
We're not going to reward that.
You get a C for doing absolutely nothing. I will say that your claim was interesting. You claimed HT guy, and then you went even further, saying you were the mascot from the Mirror Mission. And town was not buying it at all. And
no.
But instead of like pressuring you or being like questioning you or voting you, they just decided that, that's fine. Mafia Star was not trusted for the entirety of the game. His name was brought up every single day phase as being suspicious, and then everyone would go, cool, we've acknowledged he's suspicious. Now, anyways, let me tell you why Australian Charizard needs to be
the very
voted
last
for.
day, we didn't talk about this at length. The very last day, everyone is listing like their bottom 3 or 4 players. Every single person has Mafia Star on that list. There are no votes for Mafia Star being put down. Everyone can agree on one person, but they won't vote for them.
Mamma Mia votes Mafia Star, says no reason why he's voting Mafia Star, then unvotes him later.
Wild.
And then sussy little Baka allies with you in the final 5 minutes of the game.
Inexplicable. Anyway.
No,
I always stay alive.
Oh no! Oh my god! It was. Yeah. So you existed. Congratulations to the Mafia version of the Drizzle.
I'll never be able to do that again.
Master Mukau playing Battle Pitch.
Alrighty, that's an A- from Battle Bitch. Played very well this game. So, for those of you who remember, the last time Master Mukau was Mafia was in the Mira mission, and he torpedoed himself day one by lying about the safe claim that I gave him, and then trying to blame the mod for giving him the wrong information, and it didn't work out. He has 100% redeemed himself this game. Battle Bitch, as you already said, played it completely straight. He used his ability in a very creative way to give the town exactly what they wanted, and the town ate it up and just did not question it. The reason he's not as high as Big Bussy, spoiler alert, is because Battle Bitch made a few misplays that with a more competent town I think would have gotten him caught. Battle Bitch had a habit of using inside information to fuel his arguments, and I'm sure you both caught that. He would sometimes make.
We already talked about one of them, the fact that he brought up like, "Hey, right. You're in the trailer."
Right, and that's a trend that followed him almost every day. He was betraying very subtly that he had more information than he should, but the town never caught it. Likewise, his play on day 5 to go after Casanova was a greedy play. He wanted votes to pile on Casanova so that Big Bussy JD Koopa could do an invisible vote using his ability and kind of, bum rush the game. And that could have very easily misfired because I think his case against Casanova was very weak and came off almost, I don't want to say desperate, but it came off very, very like overly aggressive. It didn't come off as like, hey, this is suspicious, we should look into this. It came off as, I've caught Mafia. So that's why his grade's a little lower, but it's still still had A- play. So
the thing that bugged me the most about that Master Mukau did was after we removed the Seer night one, he still made a post in the night chat like, we still have the Miller, we can still get them. And that was like, even though we didn't know that was a trap, that was revealing Mafia information. If he had ever come out like really adamantly against him, then the person who's the Miller could just be like, you're really coming at me for no reason. Like, what do you know that nobody else does?
Exactly. So
that was scary. But to put a pro with that con, the way he handled that reveal, the Casanova thing, Casanova comes back really strongly against Master Mukau, and I was like, oh no, is this going to totally flip back on him? And he's raising questions about his ability. Is it actually a town ability? The way he handled that pressure, I thought was incredible. Like, he stood firm and like wasn't like apologetic about his play. He was totally like, why should I trust you? What have you done all game? And he had the stature to say that. Everyone else gave him more credibility all game long, and he manipulated that. And I thought that was a masterful play to defend himself there at the end.
100%, which is why he has an A-, because his play was 100% top tier this game. So good on you, Master Mukau. It's funny because I believe Master Mukau sent me a message after I gave him his role talking about how much he hated playing Mafia, how it was too much pressure, and he just gets way too nervous about it.
Also, kudos to him for his preparation to play at the end. Like, if there was going to be another day during his whole work situation.
Yeah. He was ready.
The commitment. Yeah, I approve.
Yeah. So.
Finally, we'll go to JD Koopa, Big Bussy, 69.
Yo, let's talk about the Mafia and the town MVP of the game, Big Bussy, 69, JD Koopa. I mean, he did everything right. He managed to avoid revealing his abilities the entire game somehow. I think his claim of Ducat Waker was on point. I think that was a really good claim that resonated with a lot of people. I think that he actually, interestingly enough, he was the only one whose flavor text referenced the Scummies, which wasn't anyone else's flavor, and I wondered if someone was going to catch that, and they didn't. but his play was just, he had plans. He ended up, he said he was gonna lie about his attribute, and he had the same attribute, opportunistic, that Detective Duck had. And I get why he lied, because without knowing that town members also had that attribute, it comes off sounding really mafia-ish, because you basically get priority to get the tribunal and the tools and all that. But that's a minor point. It really didn't play into anything. He was very, I think he played a very clean game, and we talked about this. He picked up on Renfield's tools gambit immediately. He played into it. He got the town cred. He was constantly latching on to the most desperate player and being their friend. Like every single time. Daft Pika, Mamma Mia, every time a player was just like getting really frustrated or flustered, he would come over, he'd put a hand on their shoulder and be like, I'm here for you. And it really showed, because not a single person suspected Bussy. Even at the very end, there was a couple of people who were just like, in the back of their mind, they were messaging me and saying like, I'm scared it's Bussy, but I don't have a case against him.
Yeah, they had nothing. It was really impressive. I told Graham when night one, when we found out who was on our team, the person I was most shocked about was that Big Bussy was JD Koopa, and maybe that's on me that I have not incrementally seen his progress as a Mafia player. But I was just like, whoa, where did this come from? JD Koopa, yeah. You've gotten really good at Mafia.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, and it blew me away too. Look, I mean, I suffer from my own biases, because I know who everyone is at the beginning of the game, and so props to JD Koopa. He earned this A+ spot.
His best game ever.
100%.
By so far.
Yeah.
There was only one point in the game where I felt like he was being a little too diplomatic. He was like, there was a reads list he made specifically where he kind of like expressed like what would be the case against everyone, and I was like, oh no, this is the smear a little shit on everyone post, and someone could call him out for that. But he led every conversation toward the end of the game, or like people like lent on him for direction, and
yes.
He didn't take it from them. He let them do what they wanted to do, but at least gave them the security, like you were saying. Like, no, I think we can still fix this.
And he had a few things where I thought he was getting close. He had the Protector night one. He claimed he protected himself, and everyone was just like, well, why didn't you protect Choo Choo? Like, it was agreed upon by the majority of the town that Choo Choo was the obvious choice for protection as Detective Duck.
But Graham, you and I talked about this. Was it? It wasn't obvious to me.
No, it wasn't.
I don't understand where that came from. That Choo Choo was like the town player.
Right, and I agree with that as well. But I was just pointing out that the town discussed this and then kind of just moved on from it. And then later, Bussy had the Protector a second time. And again, because the town wasn't tracking core abilities, no one bothered to be like, so who'd you use this on and why? He also had the hat, I think, twice, and the tools once. So, yeah. So, well played, Bussy. I mean, you know what? You managed to play so town that no one even bothered to question the things that made you look Mafia.
Well said.
Yeah. So,
Graham, you want to add anything else?
No. Shout out to the Mafia team.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So, Mafia 1 wins yet again. Mr. X is victorious. He has erased Mafia from all existence on HeyTrainer. That's it, guys. There's no more games. Yeah, there's no more games.
Let's wrap it up.
Mr. X won. He Thanos snapped everything. This is your own fault.
That is until he becomes a character in a new Ducklet game. And he goes to a tea party.
I guess, and I know we're going long on time. Actually, we're not doing too bad. This
Raptor Zone comes in like.
I mean, with as much as that we're cutting and for as much as we started, but we delayed starting. But let me ask you guys this: why does town continuously lose? Are they making the same mistakes each time? Is there a way for them to stop losing? What is your guys' hot takes or cold takes on the HT?
You want to start,
Mafia
Graham?
meta?
Why did Town lose this game, or more broadly, why do they lose? Why is we seeing the trend of Town losing again, coming back when we thought we were riding the ship?
Yes.
I did feel like we were riding the ship for a minute. So that makes it. When we first introduced Anon games, I think Kyle, you and I have talked about this. It felt like it was beneficial to the town. I think it's actually beneficial towards the Mafia, and the games are Anon now.
Hmm.
Because
Jeff, you think that's true? Or why Poteet?
Why?
Yeah.
All right. So when it went Anon the first time or first few times, everybody was giving everyone the benefit of the doubt. Blah 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 blah. Now, like, I could have never skated like this in a actual game. I think it doesn't encourage, but people are more likely to punish skaters or inactives or misplays for people that they know. Whereas behind anonymity, it's a lot easier for town just to ignore it. I don't know. Something is.
By that same token, I mean, we've talked about this in great length before. You know, I can just hide behind, well, this is how AT always plays. Or by that same notion, get damned by this is how AT always plays.
Yeah.
And instead of scum hunting, they're personality hunting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have a good answer.
I have some thoughts. For this game specifically, I think one of the reasons, I don't want to toot our own horns too much here, but one of the reasons Town play suffered was all the experience we took out of the game by AT modding the game, myself and Graham and Master Mukau all being on the Mafia team, Superstar dying night one. That's a lot of experience to remove from the game almost immediately. Yeah. So Town is playing like a little bit of flailing. There was a little bit less confidence in the room. As for the games in general, I just think we're seeing a trend of people wanting to, like I said, quote unquote, scum hunt instead of town hunt. And there's no clear answer for anybody to give on how to do that. Everyone thinks they have their own way of doing it. Everyone thinks that the way that they play clears them as town, which just isn't true, because you can just come back at someone and say, whine in front of me. That's how you would play if you were Mafia, if you knew that's how you'd play if you were town. Your answer doesn't make any sense to how to solve the game if you think that all you need to do is scum hunt. You need to be left to your own devices. Let's all just not, do anything to play cooperatively. If I just sit here in this corner of the room, I'll figure it out. But you guys didn't give me that chance. If that's your mentality, you're not playing a team game, and that's what Mafia is.
I think that's the big thing in this game. Like I said, all the town abilities required teamwork. And because there was no teamwork, most of the town abilities never got used. Despite the fact that every single player, minus a few, had enough resources to use their abilities at some point or another. Or they had the hat, or they had the tools. And yet, trust. It's okay. It's okay as town to trust someone, and it's okay to not trust them later on.
It's also okay to play the game that you're playing, not the game that you want to play. Play with the game that you're playing.
Yes, it's yes.
If you want the game to be different, advocate for that in the future.
And that brings up another thing. I feel like this game, there was a lot of people waiting for other people to play the game for them. There was a lot of people waiting for someone to be like, can you make a decision? I'm not even talking about from a Mafia standpoint. There was a lot of town people who were just sitting there, and they were just going, well, I'm not gonna provide a reads list. I'm not gonna track any information. Like, people would be like, hey, can someone post all the flavors for me? Or like, hey, can someone post where all the abilities are right now? And I'm like, bro, go read the game.
I do think part of that ties into there just being so much, and people feeling like since people didn't divide the work, like you were saying, that was one solution. People felt overwhelmed, like nobody's doing any of the work. So I would have to do all the homework for the group, and I'm not going to do that.
And maybe if I ran a similar rule set in the future, I would kind of add a town disclaimer just saying, like, you cannot win this on your own. There is too much. But I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
I would like to see it simpler, but at the same time, I also agree that, it's the town's own fault that they, didn't want to use the tools that were available to them.
I wanted HT30 to be kind of a bit more grandiose, for sure.
That's certainly, something we do every game different. Why not do that once in a while?
Yeah. So.
Okay, let's turn to Raptor Zone. Stats guy.
Welcome to the Stat Zone, presented by Raptor Zone. We have
okay.
Not actually presented by me this week because I read 0 pages of this game, which brings up a question. We don't have to answer this now. Are Anon games even fun? Do you guys have fun being Anon? I'm not sure that you do. Anyways, it's not fun to read. Let me tell you that. Anon games are not fun to watch or read.
Not fun to spectate at all. No.
And that's why I've read pretty much 0 games this year, because I don't care about what your stupid usernames are.
And I say that because I think you'll agree. Without being to like put a personality to like a profile, you have like no history for this person. You can't keep track of like how has that person been playing? Well, I can't remember. It's page 62.
Yeah.
That's an interesting comment.
Yeah,
I do find them less fun, at least, especially when you're out of the game.
I'm just reading random new usernames post, and that's not very fun. You're right. It's the personal aspect. I know who. I like knowing who.
How is so and so playing? Who's still left? Why are they left? You can't ask those questions. You can't follow a narrative.
Bring back names.
Will your next game be non-anon then?
I don't know. I think I would have a poll beforehand.
Okay, that's something to consider.
Yeah.
All right, back to the Stat Zone. I hinted in our pre-production meeting that these stats are brought to you by a fan of the pod, also player of this game. You can probably guess now, Kyle and Graham. Brought to you by Atarian / Mafia 64.
Welcome in,
now,
Mia.
He sent me a notes app, and I got to tell you, I didn't follow this game, so I don't know what a lot of this means. So it might be relevant to you guys.
Try to decipher it.
If it wasn't relevant, we'll just cut it. Sorry, Matt. Times Chaos was voted in total 5 times. Mamma Mia 64 voted for Chaos every day, apparently. And then 1 time by a bunch of other people. I don't know what Chaos means. I don't know why it's relevant, but Matt voted for Chaos 5 times.
Would have been good. We didn't talk about this on the pod, but really briefly, we can add the thought here. I do think like the linguistic consequences of calling it Chaos makes it seem like it's going to be beneficial to Mafia.
And
this was a part of Superstar's game. Like unknown factors benefit the Mafia, and calling it Chaos makes it seem like it's going to benefit the Mafia. That's
fair. In the future, if we were to do something like this, and that goes to the War and Peace thing, maybe we would call it Phase A and Phase B, or like
or if like in Pokemon terms, Rapid Strike or Single Strike.
Brunch and dinner.
Write that down.
Yeah.
So
anyway, next one.
All right, next one. This one is also Atarian centric. I can taste the saltiness in this stuff. Le Petit Dong's ability claim was brought up 6 times throughout different phases by Mamma Mia 64 before they were banished. So,
with that whole team of 2 in weapons versus medbay debacle.
I think you can assume, but Represent doesn't know.
I have no idea. I'm just reading Atarian's note.
All right, just keep reading.
Next one.
Keep going.
This one he might just want to post. It might be interesting. I don't know. He broke down what everyone, like how many times they requested resources, how much they requested. By character, it's not interesting, but he had a few notes. He said 10 players requested every day they were alive. 4 of those players died before night 2. Let's see. Where's the interesting? Okay, this part was interesting. The Indie requested 5 out of 5 times. Mafia requested 20 out of 21 times. and the town requested 33 out of 45 times, which is only 73%.
Yes, that was something I noticed as well. Mafia requested resources every single day, minus a few. So I think
Even
Mafia Star,
Mafia Star, who wasn't playing the game, so
Was requesting
suspect,
resources.
coming in like request for resources.
It does remind me of
pissed me
Poteet's
off.
game where I forget who it was, but I feel like someone was lurking, and then they'd like one of their 3 posts a day were like request like 28. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, no,
What a troll.
we're not gonna fulfill that.
Yeah, no, that was definitely Mafia's gonna do everything they can to win, except for pass the Protector on the final night of the game, or day of the game, I guess. So yeah, that's an indicator for sure. Is there any more?
He has a bunch of stuff about alliances.
no one used alliances except Mafia. Mafia was an alliance almost every single day and night. Town almost never did alliances except for Mamma Mia and Le Petit Dog.
And we
think was the
finally
only-
saw the ballsy Mafia pairing with Mafia alliance, which was
Yeah.
very
I loved
pleasing.
it. And I loved it.
But and that goes into what I was saying before. Town just did not want to use the tools that I gave them. They had all these abilities that required alliances. They had, which even if you're just to prove your ability. Oh, Tomahawk and Alabrel's micropenis were allied as well. Town and Town. Town just didn't want to ally with people. They didn't want to share resources. I don't get it.
He wrote down 7 of 13 town players went into the night phase in an alliance at some point, 16 times total. All 5 non-town players went into the night phase with an alliance at some point, 11 times total overall from Mafia. So I think his point was the town did not use alliances enough.
No.
2 more. Only 4 offers left on the table as the day ended. 3 didn't matter as the day ended, and 1 was Mafia to town. I'm guessing this is about alliances.
Yeah.
And then this was his little fun facts. Apparently, Raptor or Raptor Zone was mentioned 5 times. Thanks.
Why?
I don't remember that.
The word fuck was mentioned 57 times. And the word shit was too common for HeyTrainer's search to narrow down.
I was trying to figure out at one point who my friends were, so I was trying to figure out who Atarian was, and I thought for certain, who did I say Atarian was, Graham?
We thought it was Mad Coochie.
Yeah, I thought it was Mad Coochie because I identified who had said the word scummy on the thread on HeyTrainer the most times, and it was Atarian. So I was like, oh, so Mad Coochie has said scummy in a post, and they also said something like legit, which is something that he had frequently said. So I was like, narrowed it down. So I was trying to hunt for people based on their personality, but yeah.
I also have some stats when Raptor Zone is done.
Oh, that is it for the stat zone provided by Raptor Zone.
So
Thank you,
so unlike the town, I did track the core abilities. Night 1, the Seer was with Choo Choo Town. The Protector was with Big Bussy Mafia. The Detective was with Alabrel Micropenis Town. The Investigator was with Mafia Star Mafia. The Communicator was with Tomahawk Town. The Captain's Hat and the Rogue's Tools were both with Mafia. Night 2, Communication went to Mafia. All the others, the Seer had been removed from the game. Protector, Detective, Captain's Hat, and Rogue's Tools all went to town. Night 3, the Protector's out of play because Tomahawk got banished. Alabrel's Micropenis had Communication and Detective and is killed. The Captain's Hat is back in Bussy's control, and the Investigator is with Battle Bitch.
We didn't mention this either, but first time the Detective has actually worked as a role.
Yes, that too. Night 4, the Protector is given to Big Bussy Mafia. Australian Charizard has the Investigator given to him by Battle Bitch, who does it predicting that Australian Charizard will get banished, and he does, so the Investigator is out of play. The Captain's Hat goes to Yoshi, which of course he mismanages, and the Rogue Tools go to Mamma Mia. Night 5, the Captain's Hat is with Big Bussy again. And the town have the other roles. So you notice the Mafia had complete control of the resources for most of the game.
Mm-hmm. Which is partially town's fault, partially, they're not keeping track.
Yeah.
So, whatever. That does bring up a point that I thought of during the game, which when we passed a role to a player who was going down, it did make me wonder if we have kind of solved some of these things about the game, and that is another reason to go in a different direction in the future, because that seems like something that could further be exploited, is agreeing overnight, like, who are we passing the abilities to that we're trying to get voted out?
Which I guess could then lead into the question of, if you're tracking abilities and then the next day no one speaks up about who has the investigator role, and also no one's willing to say, well, I had it last, then maybe you can say there's shenanigans afoot.
Indeed. Yes, but if you're not talking about it, then you can't have that conversation.
Correct, but that's with everything. So,
okay.
Excellent game. I mean, not for the town, but I had fun modding it.
It was fun to follow still. Usually, sometimes I just check out when I'm out of the game, but, I was pretty invested in everybody's play. All right, then. Well, let's tie it off then. Nicely done, AT.
Thank you.
I think you... This is probably your best of the modded games, I think, so far.
Took way more than I would have.
As you've gone on. Any comments you want to make, Graham?
No, like I said, he way more game than I would have modded, I can tell you that.
It's a lot, but someone extra has got to do a lot. All right,
I think I have more fun modding than playing, believe it or not.
I feel like
I feel that way a little bit too sometimes.
I still have more fun playing, but I definitely look forward to modding too.
I don't know if you guys have ever played with me in a Mafia game, but I take it a little seriously. I had
no idea.
You don't have to play with you to know you take it seriously. You just have to physically be in your presence and watch you drag that laptop everywhere to know that you take it seriously.
Yeah, so it's nice to play it and watch everyone else suffer in the chaos.
Indeed. Okay, moments of Zen. Raptor Zone, you got one?
Oh, you're starting with me? Wow.
Yeah, I'll give you some screen time.
I'm now a proud papa. No, I do not have a child. I got a puppy since we last recorded a podcast. Today was her first day of puppy daycare. I was very nervous dropping her off. She's never really interacted with dogs.
I didn't know there was a puppy daycare.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
People like can't take care of their dogs while they're at work.
People cannot afford childcare. How can you afford pet care?
Puppy daycare is not that expensive. I mean, okay, it's not that expensive for me and my wife, who are a dual income, no kids family right now. So
fair.
I cannot speak for other families, obviously.
Think.
But it's a good way for them to like play with other dogs if they don't have a chance to socialize with other dogs. They sort of learn how to behave, Yeah. So today is their first day of daycare. Also, I'm going on vacation next week, and we're boarding her at this daycare, so she sort of needed to get used to the staff and all the dogs there. Today's her first day. I was very nervous. They told me they'd call me during the day if there were any issues, if she had problems with dogs or anything. I got no calls. I showed up around 5:30 to pick her up. She was very happy to see me, and they told us that she was the most popular dog at the daycare, and everyone wanted to play with her. So...
Oh, they're going to say popular to the other dogs in terms of, how.
I would hope not. No, all the dogs wanted to play with her.
All the dogs love her.
She apparently made best friends with multiple dogs there. So,
what a beautiful Mona Zen.
I know.
I always expect the worst of the Mona Zen.
Oh no, I've moved on from the poop talk, which I have a feeling one of you three will talk about. But
not me.
I do not have a poop story.
Me neither.
That's good.
Wow, we've grown. Character development.
I guess we should note then that apparently Graham's dog pooped on the floor during this.
Shit all over the floor during this.
And by the way, his priorities were correct, and he said, "I'll clean it up after the podcast."
I did, yes, because we also have gotten our second dog since the last podcast. So
yeah, that was my Mona Zen. Proud of Pepper the pup.
Graham, is that your Mona Zen?
The dog shitting on the floor a few minutes ago, or I guess a few
dog.
hours ago. I mean, that's the happy stuff. I'm trying to think if there's anything funny that's happened. Not really. I mean, I'm currently daddy daycare myself. I'm home alone with the kids right now. Wife's in Michigan.
I mean, it's your turn. You got to go on your Colorado adventure.
Oh yeah, no, she goes places, I go places. It's fine. Nothing has really happened here. They put on sunglasses and danced around the coffee table all night.
Halloween costumes were cute.
Yes, the two little ones were Pikachus, and Hunter was Ash.
So that was a thought I had. What, the other one's not jealous that you're Pikachu too? That would not have gone over well with my sister.
I thought about that as well.
Pikachu.
Like, it's like no, I feel like one of them wanted. I don't know. Graham's kids are so well behaved though. They just seem to be so chill. Like that. Whatever. All three of us could be Pikachu.
There was no jealousy or like I picked it first or.
No. Hunter's been Pikachu in the past, so.
Oh, okay.
He's ready to be big boy.
Like,
Ash.
I want to be Jigglypuff.
No Jigglypuff talk. I'm trying to think of. Hunter wanted to be a Minecraft guy for a little bit, but then he let that go. And other than that, no.
Minecraft Steve?
Not the black one.
The Enderman.
Enderman. There we go. I was gonna say it's not Slenderman. Enderman. Yeah, he wanted to be an Enderman.
Slenderman. That would have been a funnier costume.
Dad, I want to be Slenderman.
I can go next, Jeff, unless you want to go.
Suit.
All right. So, I've had so many good ones, but we haven't been doing pods. We didn't do the superstar one yet. We had conflict of times, and he's a very busy man. I had so many at the start of the semester I could have done. Like, I found a secret bathroom in the new school building. I got to be the first one to use it. I was really entertained by that. But
is there a basilisk underneath, like Chamber of Secrets?
I got in and got out. You know, I wanted to use it as many times as I could. So the faster I got out, the faster I could come back.
Is there a bidet?
Did you use it without nesting?
Nesting? No. Well, that's how I knew I was first. It was pre-nested. It had like the thing on the seat that you have to peel off.
That doesn't mean you're first.
True, I guess, but like it's a good indicator, I think.
Would you use a bidet?
Would I? I've never have, but I would.
I don't know if I could do it.
You only live once. You gotta try it.
I own a bidet. We have one on one of our toilets.
Does it shoot water into your crack? How's that work?
I thought we were gonna not do this.
It's not poop talk. It's butt talk.
Do you really want me to get into the details of where the bidet shoots the water up your butthole?
All right.
Yes.
My moment is not done. We're not gonna make it into a nasty one.
Wait, I'll just close this. The bidet shoots water into your butthole, Graham.
We know that.
Oh my god!
Graham didn't know this.
No crack worries.
It's like a power washer?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can like choose how hard the water like. Well, next time you come over, I'll let you test it.
Yeah, let's set a timer. Spend 15 minutes with it. Get to know it.
I can't wait till the next moment of Zen when Graham tells us about his encounter with the bidet.
Do you really have a bidet at your house, Alex?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come try it.
All right. Open door. Yeah, everyone can come try my bidet.
Can we put it on the podcast YouTube channel? Video of me trying it.
Clip this.
Oh my god. Anyway, yeah. So lots been going on at school. There's been all these TikTok trends of like teenagers trying to one up each other with destroying property. I had to review all this surveillance of students stealing this and that, students like dragging equipment from one end of the school to the other, and like just vandalism in general. They even had like trends that luckily didn't catch on in our school, like trying to physically touch employees without them noticing, and then like recording yourself while you're doing it, like getting in people's personal space. Weird stuff. Anyway, yesterday I had my midterm review with my graphic novels class, which I had dumped onto my lap the first day of school because the teacher who was teaching it just up and left. So they're like, someone has to teach this class. The kids are enrolled. We can't just cancel it. So I'm teaching it. I have some experience with comic books, manga, graphic novels. I'm also an English teacher, pretty qualified, but having no experience has made it pretty tough. So we were doing our midterm review. I decided to just make it a game, and we played Jeopardy. So basically we did a trivia day over all the comics topics we had talked about for the semester. We also did a recent unit on Marvel Comics. We did a recent unit on DC Comics. So then I also had a bonus section of like, those 5 categories are all things we talked about this semester. The 6th category is just like, you guys, a lot of you are Marvel movies fans, so this will just be a cinematic universe category. So I got to do run my first trivia, basically. And wow, people do not handle trivia well. That is what I came away learning.
Very competitive.
Very competitive. Lots of debate over what counts and what should not count. Lots of trash talking and people being butthurt. So what happened was one group got out to a pretty sizable lead, and there was another group that was hanging close with them, but they had gotten a question wrong early, so they were playing catch up. At a certain point, a lot of groups, a lot of the easy questions, like the $200 questions, were coming off the Jeopardy board, and all the groups were getting them right. So I decided to get a little more, nitty gritty. Like, your answers have to be more spelled correctly, written correctly. You can't just vaguely describe what you're talking about, because some kids were doing that. So it was one of those things where it wasn't like I raise my hand or I buzz in. All the groups got a chance to answer the question evenly, and they would all get points or they would not get points. So one of the questions comes up, and the group that's in first place describes the answer in a synonymous term, but that is not the term we've been using all semester. It is also not as precise. It's kind of like all soft drinks are liquids, but not all liquids are soft drinks. It was kind of that scenario. And so I was like, that's not close enough. The other team is going to get it right. You're not getting it right. And they whined and bitched about it the entire rest of the period. And I thought, maybe I'll get off the chain here, because there's these 3 groups now that are all in contention. The team that was leading the whole time is now in second place. The rest of the trivia, we were only halfway done. The rest of the trivia, the top 2 groups got every question right, even the final question. So that decided the game. I was like, there's no justice for me. I try to, do be as by the book as possible, not show favoritism. Now this group just thinks that, I'm at public enemy number 1. I don't want them to have the extra credit that was on the line, even though they got some. The small discrepancy, they're like, Mr. L hates us. Trivia is miserable.
Did you say what the question and answer was?
No, I didn't. So the question, I put a panel on the board from a Batman comic, and the question was this is a good example of this type of character development trope in comic books. And it was a picture of Batman talking about his dead parents and why he became a hero. So the answer that's in our textbook, that's been in all of our assignments, it's an example of an origin story. Only one of the 5 groups wrote origin story. The other groups either just described it in a sentence what was going on, and then the group that was in first said backstory. And backstories can be, just what's the backstory behind this conflict? It's not necessarily an origin story if it's a backstory. So I got a little, precise on them. And I can see why they're, a little upset. But does that dignify, the fact that they didn't use the term that we're going to be seeing on the final, that's in our textbook? Does that dignify that you're going to be whiners for the entire rest of the period? I don't know. Who to say?
No, I would agree. Origin story was the correct answer. So,
well,
me too.
Same.
Yeah, but you're also, you're all my friends. You're biased.
I mean, you can have multiple.
I would have told you if you were being an ass. If you were being an ass,
a person can have multiple factors in their life that have backstories. You can't have multiple origin stories, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, origin story is. I mean, it's a graphic novels class. It's specific to. It's a comic.
We use specific terminology. Another question that people complained about. The top 2 groups got this one right. It was I don't have it pulled up right here, but I basically showed a panel from an X-Men comic that we had looked at that had Magneto, and the question was phrased in such a way Magneto fights for mutant rights and through means of force. That contrasts him with the X-Men, who fight for mutant rights but in a peaceful way. This makes him this 4-letter word for a contrasting term to those heroes. What is the 4-letter word? And
Foil?
Yes, the correct answer is foil. But only 2 of the groups got it right. The rest of them all put the same answer, which was anti, and their explanation was anti-hero. But he's not a hero.
Yeah.
They were all mad about that one too.
That was actually what I was thinking till you said 4-letter word. Or you said 4, because I thought you were going to say 4-letter word -hero.
No. Yeah. Yeah, y'all can do my trivia if you want to do it. But
I mean,
the second
trivia night. Hey, trainer trivia night.
Hey, we could do HeyTrainer trivia night. That'd be fun.
I would be down for it. Everyone jumps in the Discord or whatever, or Zoom.
What's your Mona Zen?
So, moment of Zen. Does it have to be like super happy, or can it just be kind of, that's interesting?
It's what you want to share.
Cool. So, okay, I got something. So for those, I'm sure you guys, this might come as a surprise to everyone who's friends with me on Facebook, but I have a car that I really like. It's shocking, I know. I know I don't really post about it that much, except every other day. But I had I had something rip off my car at high speed, and it was an interesting situation. So, I had just put on a new hood scoop on my car. I was super excited. The reason I haven't posted a picture of it is because every time I post a picture, I'm reminded that I haven't posted the Colorado pictures yet.
What is a hood scoop?
It is so on the hood, it's like a big opening into the hood. It's like a hole in the hood that sucks in air to go to either cool the engine or to bring air into the engine to be used to fuel the engine. So, yeah, sorry, jargon. But so I just installed that. I was riding high. I was having a good time, and I took the car to the track to do a little racing. I was like, you know what? I want to get the car up real fast today. So I wanted to bring the car up to 140 miles per hour. And things were going good. The car was revving up. It was going fast. I was having fun. And I get to about 135, and I hear a jam, ka-chunk, and I'm like, oh no, I just blew up my engine. So I let up on everything. I put off the gas pedal. I am checking all of my diagnostics. I have like a little computer that sits on my side that tells me all my temperature readings, tells me if my engine's making weird stats and all that stuff. Nothing's wrong. I'm like, okay, this is really weird. Something feels off though. I pull over to the side. I pop the hood. I'm looking around. Everything seems fine. I'm stumped. I take a step back and I look down, and I have this big red lip that is on the underside of my bumper. It has been ripped in half down the center, completely gone at about 130 miles per hour. This high quality ABS plastic lip ripped off a chunk of my bumper, ripped itself in half, flew under my car, and exploded into a million pieces behind me. Crazy moment. I'm lucky that my car did not suffer serious damage from that. But you think I'd be pissed off by
buy
it?
A new one.
Well, that's why I'm excited. It's like I get to buy a new one. So I don't know if that counts as a moment of zen, but it was a moment of
moment of danger.
Moment of
oh
shit.
That you do that again.
I mean, it's why you do it at a sanctioned area like a track where it's safe to do it. I'm not going on the highway bridges and.
That was what I was imagining.
No, this was
Drag
at
racing?
No, this was at a track. So.
Why do I feel like you live in Florida? Don't you live in Colorado still?
No, I haven't lived in Colorado for 2 years.
You live in Florida then?
Yeah.
Okay. I was correct then. Yeah, I was just imagining you on like a Miami highway, just like zooming.
I mean, we do have those, but in fact, Florida has the highway or Interstate 4, I-4, is been in the top 3 most dangerous highways for the last I don't know how many years, but it's almost always in the top 3.
What a distinction.
Yeah, very proud of us. So, I don't really have any other major stories as Zen. I dressed up as Mario and got second place at a costume contest on Halloween.
Oh, that's
cool. Yeah. Other than that, you guys are my moment of Zen.
This is fun.
Yeah.
Nice to do a pod again.
Yeah. It's nice that after everything we've gone through with COVID, we can all get together on voice and video chat and
live podcast at Indiana Regionals.
Hey.
I might buy a deck again to do that.
Yes, that is hype, having an Indianapolis Regionals. It's been so long since we have Indiana Regionals.
I think I'll go.
Yeah.
I have to get off work somehow.
I'll have to teach you guys so much.
I vaguely know the format.
Oh, I do have a moment of zen. I got to go to our very own Matty Stax' wedding.
How was that?
Congrats, Matty Stax.
Yes, Matty Stax has been married. Congratulations to him. I got to go with Alabarel and T Cards, and it was an absolute blast. We got absolutely shwasted. There is video of me drunkenly dancing to the YMCA with Tyler, and it was a lot of fun.
I've seen it.
Yes, you have. It was a good time.
Look at Mafia bringing people together.
And yes, I was asked by people at his wedding, "Are you a Mafia friend?"
Wow. That's crazy. I was thought you were going to tell me how do you know him, and you'd be like, it'd be tough to explain, but no.
No, I had actual people, actual family members of Maddie ask me, "Are you a Mafia friend?"
Wow, I want to know how Maddie's Mafia conversations go with his family members.
So it was the drizzle and they killed me. Can you believe that shit?
They're haters.
So this was my avatar in Sticky Situation.
Okay. I think that's gonna
I just
do it.
remembered what that was. Oh god. It was the lick of tongue.
Yes, it was.
I've been playing from work in the last two, and for some reason I can access HeyTrainer, but I cannot see avatars. So I have not seen anyone's avatars for the last two games.
Oh, I'll post it in the Discord for you.
Oh, I've seen it like
Okay.
I saw it afterward, like I log in from home. But like while the game's going on, like I haven't been playing at home. So
who's next, by the way? You? Are you running the next one? I don't see anyone else.
Graham also has one.
Kyle.
I mean, the
I think
Pika Bros
the
have
Pika
one.
Bros got one.
Atari,
Question,
I think wants to run one.
Will the next game count for which year of Scummies?
Ooh,
Depends on when it ends.
I mean, most of our games are only lasting about a month and a half at most. I mean, if they started now, we could get it done early January, and I'd say it would count.
Yeah, I mean,
as long as most of the game happens in 2021.
Go nominate for Scummies, everyone.
Yes, I would like to nominate two burned candidates, Yoshi / Awast, Springtime Bugling for this game. I'll nominate Master Mukau for Post, or not Master Mukau. I'm sorry. I'm spacing.
JDK?
No. Fear the Pika for Post of the Year for doing his Miller claim that way.
100%.
I haven't decided. I need to compile. We would have to go back through previous games and decide who we want to nominate for like performance of the year in a single game. I mean, I would vote JDK for this one, but I'm not going to like hold the category if we don't have enough candidates for it. So, all right. Well, that's going to do it. Thank you for being here, Jeff.
Thanks,
thank you for having me.
Thanks as
always. Thank you, everyone, for playing in my game.
To Raptor Zone for making this podcast possible. Thanks to Atarian for contributing to our stats segment today. Thank you all for listening and continuing to play HeyTrainer Mafia. I love Mafia. I love deception games, and we couldn't do this podcast without your participation. And I hope that you get something out of it, that you like hearing these conversations, that this is something that you look forward to. If it's not, then we're not really doing it for any purpose except for ourselves. Yeah. So
just kidding. Please don't. Keep it on.
If you really like these, it helps if you let us know. I'm not saying you need to write reviews, but if you say like great podcast, then I'll know that you listened and that we didn't do this for nothing. So
hey, Graham, you sound sexy. Stuff like that.
Hey, and remember to like, comment, and subscribe for
YouTube.
Like,
We're going
comment,
for 10
subscribe to my channel, Renfield Plays, where I'm about to beat Emerald Kaizo. Come for the end of the
get me
game.
off this.
Hey, go check it out. His channel's a fun watch. It is, especially when we got all the HT crew in there.
Twitch and YouTube, Renfield Plays.
Mafia chat, now your Twitch chat at night?
Yeah.
If you close in like the next 30 seconds, we might get under 3 hours.
Oh, okay. All right. Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.